What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of LTMB Live. This is Let the Madness Begin. I am Will Gaillard.
And I'm Mike White. What up, people? What up, people?
What's up, what's up, what's up? We are broadcasting live on YouTube and on Twitch and on Periscope Live. So, what's going on, everybody?
You mean, wait, we not broadcasting on cable news? I thought we was broadcasting.
Nah.
I was broadcasting on cable news, man.
They haven't found out about us yet. Not yet. And even if they did.
Oh, true that though. It would be bad if they were trying to tap us, because that was a sign that we've gone in the wrong direction.
True. At this point, at least at this point, 2019, it doesn't look like we're gonna get some spot on a cable news network. But you know, I could use that money.
CNN?
I could use it. Look, I'm not opposed to it, but you know. I don't think they're gonna come call it. I don't think they're gonna call
MSNBC? It. You want to get a slot next to Joanne Reed?
If I can say what I want to say, I won't curse.
I don't think
I won't curse.
I don't think.
You don't think that's it?
I don't think that's it. I don't think that profanity is going to be the main issue.
That's not the opposition.
When you get fired.
Yeah.
Like even Jank.
True.
Jank.
Yeah, even Jank. Yeah.
They didn't want to keep him.
They wanted to monitor.
And he's like
tame him down a little bit.
He's not as left as we are, most of our viewers, and he was too much for them.
Yeah, that's true, man. So yeah, they're not gonna call. They're not gonna call. All right, man. It is March the 21st, 2019. We have much to talk about on tonight's program, and at the end of the program, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, the Choco Challenge. I will be doing the Choco Challenge, this this very spicy chocolate with the Black Reaper pepper in it. So please, yeah, if you don't want to miss that. Look, I'm not going to give you the drama though, all right? At least I don't think I'm going to give you the drama.
See, that's the thing. I don't
think I'm going to give you the drama.
You just speculating.
I'm speculating at this point.
Right now.
I feel confident. I feel confident, okay? I've seen many videos, and you know, they seem to be affected. They seem like it's very, very spicy and very hot, but we'll see. We'll see. I'm gonna keep it real though. If it's real hot, then you'll see that it's real hot. But if it's something I can manage, I'm not gonna try to, you know, drum up some theatrics. I'm not.
Basically, like whatever you're feeling, that's what they're gonna see.
Yeah, if I feel like I'm about to die, then
if y'all want to see Will a little hot under the collar, possibly sweating,
it's already hot in here.
Dabbing, not dabbing, but dabbing.
I do have some paper towels.
Yeah, but let's make sure we have.
Let's make sure I got some paper towels. Yeah. I am set up.
If y'all want to see Will dabbing his forehead, dabbing the sweat off his forehead, airing out his armpits and whatnot.
It is a little. It is already warm in here. It is a little warm in here.
He already trying to set it up.
I'm just saying. I saw your man. What's his name? Akbar, the football player. He hosts the American Ninja Warrior.
Oh yeah.
Dude.
I know you're talking about.
And he did the Paki challenge, the chip. And this dude, man, he was like instantaneously sweating. He said the sweat burned.
Come on, dog.
That's what he said. He said he was being serious. He said he was being serious. The sweat was burning. That's what. Hey, Kevin, we are in South Carolina. All right. All right. So let's get going. All right. It's a little bit past 7, so let's get this show on the road. On Thursday, just 6 days after the very horrific tragedy, the terrorist act that was committed in Christchurch, New Zealand, Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern announced that there will be a ban on all military-style semi-automatic weapons. This is just 6 days after this terrorist act. So we have some video of her announcing this ban.
The attacker on 15 March took a significant number of lives using primarily 2 guns. They were assault rifles and they were purchased legally on an A category gun licence, the standard licence held by gun owners in New Zealand. The capacity of these assault rifles was then enhanced using 30+ round magazines, essentially turning them into military-style semi-automatic weapons. While the modification of these guns was illegal, it was done easily through a simple online purchase. The guns used in this terrorist attack had important distinguishing features. First, their capacity, and also their delivery. They had the power to shoot continuously, but they also had large capacity magazines. I absolutely believe there will be a common view amongst New Zealanders, those who use guns for legitimate purposes, and those who have never touched one, that the time for the mass and easy availability of these weapons must end. And today, they will. Today I'm announcing that New Zealand will ban all military-style semi-automatic weapons. We will also ban all assault rifles. We will ban all high-capacity magazines. We will ban all parts with the ability to convert semi-automatic or any other type of firearm into a military-style semi-automatic weapon. We will ban parts that cause a firearm to generate semi-automatic, automatic, or close to automatic gunfire. In short, every semi-automatic weapon used in the terrorist attack on Friday will be banned in this country. These changes will require legislation. That legislation is now being drafted and will be introduced under urgency. A shortened select committee process will apply, so I encourage all those who wish to submit to start now. My expectation is that the law will be in place by the end of the next 2-week sitting session, which is by the 11th of April.
So as you heard, very bad news in New Zealand. Freedom is over in New Zealand. There's no more freedom in New Zealand.
That looks to be the case, man, because if you can't own a semi-automatic weapon, whether it's a AR-15 or a AK-47.
That's correct. High capacity
magazine. you're not free.
You're not truly free.
You're not truly free unless you can own that type of gun.
Right. There's a few more details that she announced during this press conference too. Prime Minister Ardern, she mentioned that until the legislation is passed, which she said would probably be in April, until that legislation is passed, the firearms are going to be effectively banned because an individual would have to an individual will be required to have a specific permit that they will only be able to obtain from the police. And Prime Minister Ardern said, quote, "I can assure people that there is no point in applying for such a permit," end quote. She also said that there will be a gun buyback program, and she said that it will be, quote, "fair and reasonable," end quote, the compensation that will be paid. The government there is estimating that the cost is going to be about $100 million to $200 million for the government of New Zealand.
I'm perplexed as to why they didn't try what we have been doing for a long time, and that's thoughts and prayers.
Thoughts and prayers.
I mean, why
nothing? But yeah,
why haven't they tried thoughts and prayers first?
Right.
I would think that
that would have been the first.
That would have been the first. That would have been the first logical,
right.
I guess, option
right.
to go through with. Thoughts and prayers, like a national thoughts and prayers event or events lasting
many events
lasting maybe a week, a month, or however long it takes until that problem is solved. Why can't they just have a kind of thoughts and prayers legislation?
thoughts and prayers
legislation. I'm serious, man.
You know why? Because these weapons, these high capacity magazines, are unnecessary.
And they're kind of designed to take a bunch of people out in one time.
They're designed.
That's what they're designed for.
And like you said, to take as many people out as you can in a very short amount of time.
I really haven't heard a good argument for kind of a legitimate use for them. Like people say self-defense, and I'm like, damn, dog, what do you do?
Exactly.
Like, dude, what you do?
What's your need?
What's your need?
Like what's your lifestyle?
Yeah, what's your lifestyle like to where you need something like that? You know what I'm saying? Or it's like I'm imagining like a scenario like those old Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, which the ones where he has to his daughter gets kidnapped. Of course, that's how they all start, and some very powerful, important man, some mafia, or some sort of I don't know, some kind of high crime guy.
Crime syndicate.
Crime syndicate. That's yeah, crime organization.
Right.
They kidnap his daughter or his kid, and he has to go to the compound and shoot mugs up.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's kind of the scenario I'm thinking these people have to go through if they want a gun like that. That's the only scenario I can think of. Like a bunch of henchmen trying to get into your house, and you have to protect yourself against an actual army of people. And
I don't know if it's the software, dog. It must have just happened.
Well, it just happened. Yeah, it just happened. Because when I looked at it the first time, wasn't like that. A lot of people dropped off, so it must have been off for a while. At least.
Damn, you're right. About 1 to 2 minutes ago. Boy, we don't know what's going on with this.
And it just started happening.
Yeah. Maybe about a couple weeks ago, right?
Yeah, a couple weeks ago. We never had this problem.
This is really annoying, though. This is really annoying. And we're going to have to fix this.
No, I think we should send YouTube another message.
Yeah.
Man.
We got to, because there's nothing different that we're doing. The software is exactly what it's always been, and we're having these problems. So, yeah, like I said, I don't know where we left off, but look, I believe the United States should feel incredibly embarrassed. Again, it only took 6 days for New Zealand to come to a decision like this. We have had many mass shootings, just countless lives that have been lost, carnage throughout the years, and we've done nothing but, like you said, thoughts and prayers. When 9/11 happened, that terrible tragedy, that nightmare, thousands of lives were ended. Pretty much just quickly, automatically, really. I mean, it didn't take long for there to be a significant transition to what we see now in the airline business. All the types of security that had been put in place because of that tragedy.
There's some other stuff that came out of that was bullshit that we can understandably say that we don't, co-sign, such as like
the spying,
Homeland Security,
no doubt,
the what you call it Act, the Patriot Act,
the Patriot Act.
No doubt. There's a lot of things that came out of that we didn't like.
But the whole how they handle security at airports,
I mean that makes sense. A lot of people complain about that. A lot of people complain about that, but essentially all you're complaining about is customer service.
Yeah.
But the concept of it makes sense. Like, you don't want people coming through a checkpoint or security with something that can bring a plane down.
Right.
That's like common sense.
It's a hassle, but
it's a hassle.
I think it's a necessary hassle.
I'm like, especially with there being over 1 million flights a year.
Right.
You're going to have some customer service issues in some places, but for the most part, it seemed like a kind of logical consequence of something like that happening.
Right.
Like I said, all the other stuff that came out of that, or most of the other stuff,
you can criticize that.
You can criticize that. But obviously, we had to make a change because not just for safety, but for liability purposes. Think about how much liability these airlines would have. That's what it's about too. You have corporations that may face serious liability if they don't deal with an obvious security issue. So we made changes based on that. So why can't we make changes based on something else that's very apparent, and that's gun violence? At least we could start with some damn background checks. At least. At the very least.
Close the loopholes so that all of these people that should not have weapons, because it doesn't matter who you are. If you're somebody that wants gun control, if you're somebody that doesn't want gun control, everybody has the same rhetoric. Yeah, we should keep the guns out of the hands of people that should not have them. Okay, one of the most I guess one of the most important ways to get that done is to ensure that there's a background check that is administered for every single type of gun purchase. But we can't even get that done in these United States of America.
Think about it. I mean, there's essentially background checks that are done on individuals when they want to make certain purchases, right?
There are.
When you want to purchase like a car,
you
do a credit check. Yeah. When you purchase a house, they do a credit check. Not only do they do a credit check, they have all your financials have to be disclosed. Like your bank, any account that you have to hand that over to the bank when you want to sign up for a mortgage. Like if you have a Venmo account, you have to show them that they see all the transactions. Your bank account, they go over bank statements for a year. They go over like everything.
Yeah.
I mean, when you want to even rent an apartment, they do a credit check.
When you want to get another job, when you apply for a job, they're going to do a
background check.
Because again, like you said, this is about liability. They want to see what kind of liability they're going to have if you are around, if they are conducting business with you. So it makes all the sense in the world for this nation, the United States of America, to act like a responsible nation and deal with this with the seriousness that it deserves. New Zealand is showing this up right now. Because again, that was a horrific tragedy, 50 people gunned down. And it took less than a week for them to make a significant change.
And I was joking, earlier, but I can actually see people giving that type of advice to New Zealand. You know what I'm saying? I was joking, but I can actually see people giving that advice. Why didn't they try thoughts and prayers first?
Yeah, of course. Because of freedom. Because of freedom. Yeah. All right. On Wednesday, President Trump was in Ohio visiting the Lima Army tank plant at the Joint Systems Manufacturing Center. This was a White House event in Ohio. And Trump spoke in an address in front of workers and supporters and chose to focus on the late Senator John McCain for a significant portion of his address. It was about 5 minutes long. He chose to target Senator John McCain, the late Senator John McCain. So we have a little bit of that video that we want to show you, and then we will come back and discuss it.
A lot of people are asking because they love me, and they ask me about a man named John McCain. And if you want that to tell you about, should I or not? Yes? Yes? So I have to be honest, I've never liked him much. Hasn't been for me. I've really probably never will. But there are certain reasons for it, and I'll tell you. And I do this to save a little time with the press later on. John McCain received a fake and phony dossier. Do you hear about the dossier? It was paid for by crooked Hillary Clinton, right? And John McCain got it. He got it. And what did he do? Didn't call me. He turned it over to the FBI, hoping to put me in jeopardy. And that's not the nicest thing to do. You know, when those people say, because I'm a very loyal person. John McCain campaigned for years to repeal and replace Obamacare, for years, in Arizona, great state. I love the people of Arizona. But he campaigned for years for repeal and replace. So did Rob, so did a lot of senators. When he finally had the chance to do it, he voted against repeal and replace. He voted against at 2 o'clock in the morning. Remember, thumbs down. We said, what the hell happened? He said 2 hours before he was voting to repeal and replace, and he went thumbs down. Badly hurting the Republican Party, badly hurting our nation, and hurting many sick people who desperately wanted good, affordable health care. We would have had it. This would have saved our country over $1 trillion in entitlements, and we would have ended up making a great health care plan, frankly, with the Democrats, because they would have had no choice. I endorsed him at his request, and I gave him the kind of funeral that he wanted, which as president, I had to approve. I don't care about this. I didn't get thank you. That's okay. We sent him on the way, but I wasn't a fan of John McCain.
Oh, that's pretty interesting, man.
Yeah,
Oh, that's pretty interesting. I do think it's funny, start off with, that John McCain admires leaders like Kim Jong-un.
John McCain. Hold on, wait.
Sorry, my bad.
Trump.
Trump.
Okay.
Trump. He respects leaders like Bolsonaro, Kim Jong-un. What's his name? Duterte.
Yeah. From the Philippines.
From the Philippines. Putin. He respects leaders like that, but somehow.
You said Mohammed bin Salman?
Didn't even mention that. But thank you for adding that. But somehow he can't muster up any energy to show any respect for John McCain. It's not that we have major respect for him, but we're going to talk about this situation in a compartment,
right?
Because we understand who John McCain is. He's kind of a part of this political establishment that, I guess, supports endless wars. This kind of American imperialist power. So we understand that. So we're going to talk about this within the compartment of this situation. I think he started off with what he was really concerned about John McCain. How did he start it off?
That dossier.
That's what it's really about. All the other stuff he mentioned something about Veterans Affairs.
Yep.
He mentioned the Iraq War. He mentioned health care as well. All that is just a smokescreen for what he's really upset about. And that's John McCain chose his own political career and his own reputation over protecting him.
That's all it boils down to.
That's what it boils down to. Because, well, here's the thing. The counter narrative Trump has used in regard to the investigation is what? It's that it's been kind of a ruse, a lie, a witch hunt that was brought upon the American people by a bunch of angry Democrats. But see, he can't do that against McCain, though, right? Because he's not a part of the opposition party. So, what Trump has to do is set John McCain up as his political enemy. Even though McCain doesn't see him as one, that's what he's really doing. So when Trump says, I never liked the guy, what he's trying to set up is this situation where it's not him that never liked McCain. It's most likely McCain never liked him.
Right.
That's why he's trying to kind of add in those other things like the Veterans Affairs, Iraq, and health care, because then he can set it up to say, see, that's why he was, he had that kind of policy disagreement. That's why there was that clash on policy, because he was against me, he was against me from the jump. So now he can claim that, like, John McCain always had it out for him. You see what I'm saying? He has to discredit, he has to create an enemy out of John McCain, because if he doesn't, then the fact that John McCain, somebody who was respected superficially amongst Democrats and Republicans, they will see him handing that dossier over as something that was genuinely a sign of integrity. Trump can't have that. So he has to create an enemy and a villain out of John McCain.
Like you began saying, John McCain is never was somebody that we supported. His ideology, his whole political, I guess, strategy just didn't line up with ours. And we had many criticisms of him. But John McCain is dead and gone, okay? Although I still have criticisms of his past, it would be pretty pointless for me to keep talking about him. It just wouldn't serve no purpose. I mean, if we're talking about history and his name comes up, maybe it would be apt to bring him up in that way if something is concerning him. But to keep harping on a guy that has been dead since last year, I don't understand it. And this is a horrible tactic for Donald Trump. Now, I want Donald Trump to keep talking about him because I think this is going to serve to hurt him. The Republican Party, and like you said, the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, they had like praise for Senator John McCain. Okay, yeah. They respected him. They felt like he was a prisoner of war. He was a hero, a war hero. He served the nation for decades, I think like 60 years or something like that. So again, he's revered by Democrats and Republicans alike. For Trump to consistently keep attacking somebody that's dead and gone will never be a good look, no matter what the issue was with John McCain. And the issues that he does have with them are so empty, it's ridiculous. Again, starting with the dossier, that's empty. When he talks about the ACA and how John McCain, he was campaigning on repeal and replace for so long, and then when it finally came down to it, he didn't vote along with the Republicans. That's a lie, because I mean, look, he didn't vote with the Republicans, but it wasn't about repeal and replace because nothing was being replaced. I mean, there was nothing to replace the ACA at that point. That was about the skinny repeal.
He claims that it was about the repeal. I mean, about the replacement, but there was no replacement.
There was no replacement.
So that's a definite lie.
No, the skinny repeal, what that would have done, it would have took millions of people off of healthcare. Millions of people who it took off of healthcare, and there were other Republican senators as well that voted along with John McCain. Was like, no, we can't do this. So this tactic is just not wise if he does want to be if he does actually want to get reelected. Again, I keep doing it. He talks about that he doesn't care about not getting a thanks for giving John McCain the funeral that he wanted. I don't think you're ever going to get that thanks since John McCain is dead. I don't know why you would talk like this. And you really do care. He does really care.
And
he does really care.
He has nothing to do with, he has nothing to do with the funeral. That's kind of, the arrangements are made by congressional leaders, not him.
Nice.
And last time, did he go to the funeral?
No, he did not.
Okay.
No, he did not.
So, like
I said, keep talking, man. I don't think this is a winning strategy for you. But there was one moment during this address that he was making where, I could say that he spoke a lot of foolishness, but there was much of that all throughout the address. But there was this one moment where he chose to mock renewable sources of energy.
Hillary wanted to put windmills all over the place. Let's put up some windmills. When the wind doesn't blow, just turn off the television, darling, please. No wind out today. There's no wind. Please turn off the television quickly. Put the windmills up and watch the value of your house. If you're in sight of a windmill, watch the value of your house go down by 65%. Wonderful to have windmills. And solar is wonderful too, but it's not strong enough. And it's very, very expensive.
Okay. You see, it's not even funny anymore. To make fun of Donald Trump, I think you said this weeks ago. It's not funny anymore because, like, if he actually is this stupid, it's sad. But if this is an act, which I can't tell because we do know that, you know, there's some limited intelligence here. But it's just not even funny anymore. Wind and solar if you stop the process of wind and solar at a given point, like if you turned off the turbines.
The turbines,
Would there be no energy left anymore? No, it would be conserved.
He's like kind of trying to present this case where like you are constantly having to crank something.
And if you stop,
something has to be constantly cranking in order for there to be like power going to someplace.
Right.
So
and if you dare stop the cranking, then
power will be lost.
Power goes out. We are in the dark ages. He also talked about it's very expensive. Now, with the solar, with the solar panels, yes, there is a cost up front. And it's not like, you know, just a few dollars. No, there's a significant cost, but it will actually save you money because you won't be paying for the electricity coming from.
But where is the cost? What is he talking about? Where is that cost going to come from? Who is it going to cost more?
Who's it going to cost?
Who's it going to cost at the end of the day? So he's telling kind of the truth, but not for the right reason, and not very accurately.
Right. You're talking about the oil and gas industry. It's going to cost them a lot of money. Yeah, it's going to cost them a lot of money. Yeah. In terms of your homeowner, again, it's going to be an upfront cost to put those solar panels in, but it's going to end up saving you money. I'm all for spending money to save money. If it's going to save me money in the long run, of course I'm all for that. Again, this is no longer funny. It's just no longer funny.
Because now he's carrying buckets of water for the fossil fuel industry. Yes. And he's playing dumb in order to do that. Playing dumb. Oh, yeah. And I actually found that tweet about John McCain. I think it was when he died. Mm-hmm. And it was on August 25th, 2018. And that tweet reads, "My deepest sympathies and respect go out to the family of Senator John McCain. Our hearts and prayers are with you." That's an interesting thing to say for somebody he never respected and never liked.
Right. All right. So, Democratic presidential candidate Beto O'Rourke finally addressed some of the questions that were asked of him about his massive fundraising haul in the first 24 hours of his candidacy. It was announced that he had raised $6.1 million during that first 24 hours. But he would not answer the question of the average donation and how many total contributors there were until Wednesday. So Beto O'Rourke was in New Hampshire, I believe, on Wednesday, and he told reporters that there were more than 128,000 unique contributions and that the average contribution was $47. Later in the day, the campaign made a correction, and the actual average contribution was actually $48. So $48 per contribution and 128,000 unique contributions. Now, you know, we've been doing this for a little while. Yes. And the term unique contributions was foreign to me. I don't think I've ever actually heard that before.
Another thing, you know, they can do a better job, some of these media outlets that I guess highlighted the story about his fundraising. They could do a better job at kind of like being a little more discreet, because there were most of the headlines read unique donors for Beto O'Rourke.
Oh, yeah.
Beto O'Rourke, this amount of unique donors, and then it said Bernie Sanders.
It was the same language.
What?
It was the same language as Bernie Sanders, because Bernie Sanders in that first 24 hours, it was like about 225,000.
Right.
And then in the same graphic, it would have the same language for Beto O'Rourke, 128,000, whatever. individual donors or whatever language they have.
Yeah, yeah.
Is that the same? Are unique contributions the same thing as individual donors?
There was one website that did use contributions for Beto and then unique donors for Bernie Sanders, but they did not like make the distinction.
Yeah, of
So
what that could mean.
They did not make the distinction. So I was like, so why you use a different word for him, but don't explain why in the article?
Well, that's because Beto O'Rourke used that type of language. So unique contribution, again, when you think about it, I could donate multiple times, and those are different contributions. Those are different, unique contributions.
But they don't represent what?
They don't represent different individual donors. So I believe, and I don't think I'm just, I don't think I'm like going overboard here. I don't think anybody's going overboard here. I believe that 128,000 unique contributions that he's talking about, well, first of all, it does not mean individual donors. And secondly, I'm thinking that a lot of this money that he raised probably came from a bundler.
That's what bundlers do. And there was a story that came out the day he announced he was running for president that said his campaign was communicating with Obama and working with a bundler close to Obama. So it would make sense. But like, let's just say that's not the case. Let's just run with this and say that's not the case.
What else could it be? Okay, go ahead.
Let's just say this is straightforward. Just using just basic math and looking at the averages, which most media outlets did, including a round of applause for CNN.
Right.
They did give the average of like what these numbers meant, kind of. So at the end of the day, they gave the average of how many contributions and/or donors it actually was. And it was significantly higher for Bernie Sanders. Now, here's the thing. I don't think anyone, including Bernie Sanders supporters, doubted that Beto O'Rourke, wouldn't come into this race without bags full of money. I think we already knew that. Number one, he's from a bigger state. Two, he has more corporate backing. We all knew that. I think what progressives doubted was how much support he actually has. And money doesn't equate to support.
No, it does
Money doesn't go to the polls.
No.
Money doesn't actually, you're not pulling a lever, but press buttons. Money doesn't do that.
Money might allow you to reach farther than other people that don't have the same amount of money.
People do that.
Yes.
So a better and more reasonable metric to use to determine who has the upper hand in this election is the amount of donors.
The amount of individual donors. And again, in the first more hours, it seems as though Bernie Sanders had a significant
almost 100,000
more than Beto O'Rourke.
100,000 more.
Well,
almost.
We don't know, actually. We don't know how many.
We actually don't know because...
No, you can't use that number that he gave of 120,000.
Because the difference between unique donors and then unique contributions.
We don't know how many. It could have been under 100,000. It could have been under 50,000. We don't know at this point.
Again. And most likely they only released that information because they were being pressed. And they had to. So they had to do something. So why not just release the unique contributions? You know what I'm saying?
That probably wouldn't look... Well, the unique contributions, but the individual donors, that might not look impressive. It
Why not release the unique donors? Why release just the unique contributions? It just seemed like that was what they chose to do because they were pressed to do it.
Right.
But
still not a good look. Still not a good look for Beto. That money... Yeah, it certainly will take him far, allow him to reach far. But in terms of actual support, just not sure that he's actually getting that amount of support. Not sure that whatever his message is actually resonating with potential voters.
Yeah, because, if you're going to use, the amount of money somebody raises to determine their viability and the likelihood that they will win, good example would be Hillary Clinton, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it was like almost $1 billion.
She raised a lot of money.
For the presidential campaign, she raised $1 billion.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. But what didn't she do? She didn't put boots on the ground in 3 states.
She did not. So I don't know when I don't know when or if Beto O'Rourke will be I guess admitting how many or revealing how many individual donors that he's had. At this point, after coming out with that unique contribution kind of BS, I don't think he's going to come out with another number because it's going to look bad.
It's going to look bad. I don't think that. I don't think no matter how much his campaign is pressed, they're going to do that.
No,
I just don't think so. They figure that this is enough right here.
Yeah. But it doesn't trump Bernie Sanders. It does not trump Bernie Sanders. $6.1 million does, but most likely with the help of a bundler. All right, so let's stay on Bernie Sanders for a second. So something happens when Bernie Sanders runs for president. We saw this in 2016, and we are seeing it again in 2020, or on the way to 2020. Suddenly, there's this influx of disingenuous criticism, disingenuous hate.
Bad faith criticism.
Bad faith criticism. On Wednesday, an article was published by The Daily Beast, and it was written by Alexis Grinnell. The title is, "To the White Men Running to be the Democratic Presidential Candidate. Can You Not?" So, to be clear, this was not solely about Senator Bernie Sanders running for president. It was about, she mentioned Joe Biden, she mentioned Beto O'Rourke as well. But this is from the perspective of a supposed former Bernie Sanders supporter, somebody that supported him in 2016 and voted for him over Hillary Clinton in the primaries. So a large portion of this, and you can feel it throughout the words, she had significant contempt for Bernie Sanders. And it did feel like she was doing this to support women. She felt like there were enough women. And, actually, I can just read off her words. Mm-hmm. In one portion of the article, she says, there are 4 highly qualified women running in the Democratic primary across a range of ideologies and experience. But an influx of men have entered the mix without offering a clear rationale for themselves beyond that they can and want to run.
I want to point out something right quick. She said there's how many qualified women?
She said 4.
4 qualified women.
Highly qualified.
Oh, highly qualified. So, so she's suggesting that there are 2 that are not highly qualified. Because right now you have Harris, Warren, Gillibrand, Klobuchar, Gabbard, and Williamson. I think those are the women in the race, right?
That's correct.
I'm going to go ahead and assume that when she's talking about the qualified ones, she's not talking about Gabbard and Williamson. I'm just going to go ahead and assume that. I do think it's interesting that that's a suggestion, because this article was written after those 2 declared they were running for president.
This was written on Wednesday.
Yeah. So she's kind of disacknowledging 2 other women that are running.
No doubt she is. Yeah, she is. But the line that she says that the influx of men that have entered the race, but they have no clear rationale for themselves beyond that they can and they want to run. Like that speaks of one that's offensive. One, because look, I'm not gonna ignore the fact that there are qualified women that have been in politics for some years. They have experience in this field. And they might have what it takes to be a president and to make those tough decisions and lead people. No doubt, right? Elizabeth Warren is somebody that there's many positions that she has that I support. Tulsi Gabbard, she has many positions I support. Marianne Williamson as well. So yeah, there are some good female candidates. But to say that the men running don't have a clear rationale for why they are running other than they just want to and they can, is ridiculous. That's absurd.
So she's making a point that doesn't apply to this particular election. That's kind of clear right here, because like you cannot say that about any candidate, regardless of how you feel about them. Regardless of how I feel about Booker, you can't tell me that kind of he hasn't like expressed his vision, regardless of whether you agree with him or not.
Exactly.
Regardless of whether you kind of like you understand his history and you dig deep to, I guess, to determine whether he's genuine or not on his platform. It's there.
How do you put Booker's intentions over somebody like Kamala Harris's intentions?
Exactly. I mean, you have Yang, you have Castro. I mean, they've like all these candidates have made appearances on talk shows. They didn't just announce and just run away. They've all made appearances on talk shows. Hickenlooper,
Right.
Ainsley, Delaney, Buttigieg. How do you pronounce it?
Buttigieg.
My bad. Buttigieg. There's even another one, but he hasn't made a lot of appearances. Like Wayne Messam. There's another dude. There's like 10 of them.
Right.
But even O'Rourke. But specifically, Sanders. Like, how can you actually, like, just lump him in there with that entire group as if he hasn't established a particular platform? And it's not like we already didn't know his platform before he ran for president. He's kind of been running since 2016. So to kind of lump him in there as if she doesn't know what Bernie Sanders is about, that's just disingenuous.
And as a former Bernie Sanders supporter, she would know why he ran in 2016. So why would it not be apparent why he's running in 2020?
She has to like essentially close her eyes to make her point. Like she has to ignore reality in order to like write this article. That's why she's probably been an opinion journalist for a few years.
Yeah. So she also made an appearance on CNN to talk about her article with Brooke.
I can't remember her name. You looked it up. You looked it up like right before the show.
I can't remember her name now. Brooke Baldwin.
Brooke Baldwin.
That's right. Okay, I forgot it. But yes, so this journalist, she appeared on CNN to speak with Brooke Baldwin about her article. So we have a clip of that.
One, so you're saying if some of these men have said, okay, well, I'll put a woman on my ticket, you think you roll your eyes at that?
That's
Why?
second best. Geraldine Ferraro already was the first female nominee for a major party for vice president 35 years ago. We've been there, done that. It's time to move on.
Okay, number two, then are you saying these white men shouldn't be running? Because at the end of the day, and I'm all for a woman, right? But shouldn't it be the most qualified best candidate wins? White,
absolutely,
male, woman.
Absolutely. The problem is, though, these men are haven't offered a clear rationale for why they're running, and there's a sort of an implicit bias here that a woman can't beat Trump. It's unspoken, it's unsaid, but already they've raised millions of dollars more than the female candidates in the race who have this uphill battle, period, regardless of whether there are men in the race, to be taken seriously. We know this from reams of data and research, and also, 2016, we already just went through it. The fact that these three guys, and there are more men in it, but these are the major ones, think that...
By the way, Joe Biden hasn't even declared yet.
No,
We're
but...
putting him in the...
it's like Hamlet over here, right? Will he, won't he?
You're over it.
I'm over it. I'm over them all. And the point is, what they could really be doing is putting their resources behind these women. With Bernie, for instance, again, who I voted for proudly, and I think had made really important moves in 2016. I don't understand why he's running now when Elizabeth Warren, who's his ideological twin, could really benefit from his support, his money, his movement.
Gotcha.
And he's not getting behind her. So to me, it really reeks a little bit of an inauthenticity that wasn't reminiscent of Bernie in 2016, which is why I was so proud to vote for him then too.
I do think it's interesting that she mentions Warren being his ideological twin, right? But kind of fails to mention that Warren didn't support Bernie Sanders in 2016 and chose to support Hillary Clinton. And if she's going to bring up this kind of narrative that she claims is being pushed, that only a man can beat Trump, I don't think you can bring up that point after Hillary lost to Donald Trump.
Yeah,
it just looks
a few
bad.
years ago.
It just looks bad.
I don't understand how she brings up Elizabeth Warren. Again, like you mentioned, Elizabeth Warren sat on the sidelines in 2016 and did not support Bernie Sanders. She came out enthusiastically for Hillary Clinton. So coming off of that, you want Bernie to ride for her when she wouldn't step up and ride for him, even though they're supposed ideologically the same, ideological twins. They can't be ideologically twins when we just saw Elizabeth Warren in her CNN town hall and she ran away from a bill that she is co-sponsoring for Medicare for all single payer. They can't be the same. So when you talk about that there's no clear rationale for any of these men that are running, clearly Bernie Sanders wants to get things done. And you know that since you were a former supporter of him. But in 2020, going forward, he still wants to get single payer passed in the United States of America. So what good would it do to support somebody like Elizabeth Warren who's not standing strong on that?
But she said she's over it, Will. She's over it this time. But I'm like, you weren't over it 2 years ago?
No, she wasn't.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, to me, it just doesn't make any sense. Oh, and kind of like one detail that I completely forgot about is she was kind of targeting white men, right? So would that kind of take Booker out of the discussion?
I guess it would.
Would take
I guess
Yang?
he's good.
I guess he's good. I guess Booker's
and Yang
good.
too.
Yang is good.
Yang is good.
And maybe Castro is half good, depending on how he defines himself.
Right.
So,
but the other white men get up out of there.
And to me, that's very condescending to me as far as like towards women, because what she is suggesting is it's like, hey, move over, guys. Like, you know, women don't even need any competition. You just need to let them in.
Exactly.
You need
Step
to
aside.
let them. You need to let them in, not let them compete. Let them
Not let
in.
them win.
Not let them win.
No, just move over for them.
And doesn't that give us an easy pass? Wouldn't that give the Democrats an easy pass? I was about to say the country an easy pass, but you can see it that way too. Wouldn't that give us an easy pass to say, see, like, what if the entire field was women? That would the optics of that would look bad because it wouldn't look genuine.
That's
it was
true.
like we set it up and we didn't think that, number one, women were strong enough to actually win, and number two, that we as a group weren't like ready for a woman to compete with a man. Like, we weren't ready for that, so we just let women win. I'm like,
Towards the end of her article, she says, on Monday, NPR's Rachel Martin noted that the Democratic field is now full of candidates who sound an awful lot like Bernie Sanders. Putting the question to the 77-year-old senator straight, she asked, so why do you need to run? His response, well, maybe the more appropriate question is, why do they need to run? No, dude, that is not an answer. As if on cue, the campaign yesterday released a list of new hires, most of them women, which only made me more angry to see them tokenized as the power behind the throne. Now, what I hear when she's so mad at Bernie Sanders' response is, there are so many people that have now co-opted the message of Bernie Sanders that are running in 2020, for 2020. So these are carbon copies of Bernie Sanders who sound a lot like Bernie Sanders, but are not Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders, the real guy, he shouldn't run. The authentic version of his message should not run. We should let the carbon copies who just came onto his message run in place of him.
And they are more qualified. If you forgot that part, that's actually they're more qualified now.
If a woman is the most qualified individual for president, I have no problem supporting them. And I would hope that everybody feels that same exact way. I think it is well past time for us to have a female president in the United States of America. But I don't think that should be done
frivolously and superficially.
Yes, I don't think it should be phony.
It shouldn't be like,
I don't think it should just be like, okay, it's a woman's turn, because that sounded a lot like what we heard in 2016.
I'm with her. It's her turn. I don't know, man. I don't see. I just don't see. I just don't see it, man. I really don't see it. And like, you know, he was given shit for not having a lot of women within his campaign and a lot of leadership roles. He was given a lot of shit.
So
he was given a lot of shit for that. So he's making changes and putting some women in leadership positions, including non-white women in leadership positions. Now you're saying, oh, well, those are just tokens.
In 2016, his campaign spokesperson was Simone Sanders.
Oh, also, did you hear that little, like, I don't know the exact words. If you put the tweet back up there, or not the tweet, but the comments, she said something like under the throne or something. What's the word she used?
Yeah. Tokenized as the power behind the throne.
Behind the throne. So where else would they be? They're in his campaign. Right. Where else would they be? Right. Like, you see, that's kind of condescending, like, to even use the word throne in there. That's kind of like throwing some shit in there, like he's a dictator or he's a king. Right. But anyway, like, it really doesn't matter, because where else are they going to go? He's the presidential candidate, so they're always going to be under him. And the males who work for Bernie Sanders' campaign are under him too.
Under the throne.
Under the throne.
All right, let's move on, man. Look, we have a lot of candidates for LTMB Dummy of the Day. This is definitely going to be one.
A nominee?
Oh, this is definitely a nominee. Trump, of course, was one of them because of his completely insane comments about renewable sources of energy, his just brain dead comments and whatever. But this is another one. So on Wednesday night, former Colorado governor and current Democratic presidential candidate John Hickenlooper had a CNN town hall. And in this town hall, the subject of a woman becoming a VP pick was broached. And this is how John Hickenlooper responded to that question.
Governor, some of your male competitors have vowed to put a woman on the ticket. Yes or no? Would you do the same?
Well, again, of course. But I think that we should be, well, I'll ask you another question. How come we aren't
asking the question?
I know. I know. But how come we're not asking more often the women, would you be willing to put a man on the ticket?
When we get to that point, I'll ask you that question.
Yo, It's very weird.
That is mortifying.
It's very weird to watch a man go from looking like a well-polished adult, confident, articulate, well put together. Oh gosh. You know what I'm saying? It's just weird to see somebody go from that to flustered like a 13-year-old boy. Ask women the same thing. You know what I'm saying? I'm just like, you see how
he was calm, cool, and collected, and then he turned into
Mr. Fluster.
A very goofy guy.
That's probably the better word to use.
We should be asking women more if they will put a man on the ticket.
Yo, see, and did you see how
a man has always been on the ticket?
Like, has there ever been a female president, a woman president?
No. Has there ever been a female VP?
No.
Nope.
Maybe a pick, but not officially.
Yeah. In the Democratic Party, it's happened one time, I believe.
Yeah. And
he wants females. He wants women to answer this question if they.
See, the funny part was he just said, like, he tried to like blow through the question and say, of course, but, like he said, of course.
He said,
but why are women asked the same question? I'm like, dog. You do understand the context behind that question, don't you? Like, you don't have to be a historian to know that. You don't have to have like read the most prominent, feminist scholars to see the context behind that question. You know the context behind that question. And who was the host?
That was Dana Bash.
Dana Bash. And you see how she didn't like kind of upstage him, didn't make him look stupid, but you heard what she said. Right?
Oh, yes.
She said, like, we'll ask that question when we get to that point.
What point is she talking about?
She's talking about when women are the ones who are dominating the field, the political field.
And we are nowhere near close to that reality right now.
Like, if the next 50 presidents are women and the next 50 VP picks are women,
then we can ask that question. Hey, is it about time for a man yet? I mean, are you going to put a man on the ticket? But when you have never had a woman that has been the vice president of the United States and you still want to ride for men, like, This wasn't asking you to give up your spot, like
Commitment.
not run. This,
Like
no, this
commitment.
wasn't even asking for like, yo, you drop out. Like this wasn't this journalist that wrote this article about the white men that were in the race and how they need to fall off because of women. No, this wasn't a question like that. Nobody was asking you, are you going to step down so that women can be the next president or a woman could be the next president? No, it was simply asking you, hey, will you commit to choosing a female VP? Like, if you don't want to commit to that, I would feel completely fine with that because I think it's way too early to make that kind of commitment. But you could certainly say, well, hell yeah, I would certainly consider it because there are some strong VP candidates that would be women. Oh, no doubt I would consider it.
Yeah,
And just leave it at that.
He can say, yo, there's a lot of women out there that I recruit. Not just the current, spread of women candidates that are running for president, but across the board.
Yes.
Like,
there are governors. There are females that are in the Congress. There are female senators.
that was a softball question. No. It wasn't even that kind of softball. It was like, it was a T-ball.
It was the T-ball question. That was the T-ball question.
That was a T-ball type of question. It was a T-ball question. It was right there. And, dog, he saw it and whiffed.
But men.
But what about the men? You know what, dog? Yo, he just, like, confirmed the meme. You know that meme that says, well, what about the memes? What about the memes? Like, you just became a meme.
Look, man, we're men.
You just
hey, we ride for men. We ride for men. I'm a man. We ride for men. But you didn't have to do the most here. Like, men have been getting theirs. Men have been getting theirs for years.
Again, we're probably half this dude's age, dog. We're half this dude's age, so we weren't, like, brought up in a particular time.
Yeah.
Like, where like that world that men set up was, like, at its precipice. I'm not saying he was at, he was existed at that time because he's not that old, but we're younger than him.
Yeah.
And we could understand the context behind that question. He's older, so he's definitely he saw more than we did. So he's actually seen the progress that just we haven't seen because we haven't been alive.
So he should understand the
question. So
question.
we should understand the question
more so than we would. Whatever. Look, during this town hall too. Look, John Hickenlooper is not somebody that we support. He explained that he was not behind Senator Bernie Sanders' single payer idea. There was one other time where he talked about one subject that I don't understand why he ever publicizes. And I believe he publicized this first in a book.
Yeah.
He talked about taking his mother to an X-rated movie. He talked about taking her to see Deep Throat back in the 70s. Why would you talk about that? It was a mistake, he said, because he said at the time he didn't understand what an X-rated movie was, and his mother, was lonely in the house. I believe his father was dead, I believe. Maybe had died or left. I can't remember, but he had left for college. He came back, and, he wanted to take his, didn't want his mom to just be in the house all alone, so he took her with his friend. And once they got there and observed what the movie was about, he was mortified and he wanted to leave, but she felt like, hey, we paid for the ticket, we're staying. Even though he was feeling embarrassed. I understand that. I can't even imagine being put in that situation.
He's trying to humanize himself.
That's too far. That's too far.
He's trying to humanize himself.
No.
And show some sort of, like, some sort of screw up moment.
No.
It's an awkward moment to humanize himself.
Who's relating? Who has a situation like that? Who's relating? Who's not going like this? Ew! Stop talking. Who's not doing that?
Okay, now in context, we just got finished talking about him, and in another form.
Yeah.
And that was in bad form, when he was in bad form, when he couldn't answer that question. So now it kind of like puts everything together, but it kind of like makes sense.
Because he's a goofy dude, man. Like, why you...
But, well, I would say he illustrates his
Sometimes you need a filter.
Well, see, he illustrates that he's out of touch in a goofy way. It's not as goofy is not the thing he is. It's just that he illustrates how out of touch he is in a goofy way.
In a very goofy way.
You know what I'm saying?
Just leave that. I don't know why you wrote it in the book. I don't know why you're talking about this while you're running for president, man. Good luck, man. Good luck.
He's gonna need a lot of it.
All right, let's talk about another Democratic presidential candidate. Marianne Williamson was recently interviewed by TMZ. And so she was interviewed by Harvey Levin and Charles. I'm not going to even attempt to say his last name, but I know you are familiar with his face. You'll see him. But we just wanted to show a clip of this video, and then we'll come back and talk about it.
It's frustrating for me, and I think for a lot of people, to see our politics unfold in such a superficial way, because this is perilous. The superficiality of our politics, the fact that it doesn't address the deep inner moral issues, the fact that we're just not discussing things like millions of American children living in chronic trauma. We're just not discussing things like the serious issues of race, slavery reparations, the things that go along with that conversation. The fact that we're just not even discussing the fact that our entire defense agenda has to do with preparing for war, but we don't even contextualize waging peace. All of these things really spell disaster, if not for us, then for our children and our children's children. And I know that we need to have another conversation. I don't see anyone else having it, and so I am.
So, Marianne, a lot of what you just said really strikes a chord with people. I think it's true. You can't really debate that a lot of what you just said is absolutely true. I guess the difference is, how do you think you're going to be able to cut through that message when politics now, and a lot of this has to do with the president and what he says on Twitter, is just nasty, and it's this sniping. And I honestly, I've thought,
and it's the sniping that gets people traction.
I have hoped for years that this would mean that there would be a movement back toward the center where people weren't as polarized, but that hasn't happened. So how are you going to cut through all of that?
What's wrong with politics is what's wrong with everything else in America, where you have a small group of people, small group of institutional identities which sort of run the show. The consciousness of the American people is not the problem. So in this case, when you talk about getting traction, the reason it's hard to get traction is if CNN hasn't given you your town hall debate, or MSNBC or the DNC, all the kind of self-appointed gatekeepers, which make it very, very hard for someone not in a certain club to sort of get in there, which is why I'm grateful to be on your program and others that I'm on, by the way. The problem, however, is not with the American people. So when I'm actually with voters in Iowa, voters in New Hampshire, voters in South Carolina, voters in Nevada, which are those first primary states where it really matters, they get exactly what you just said.
I like a lot of, I like many parts of that clip of that interview. Of course, when I hear Marianne Williamson talk, and she talks about the serious issues that we are not addressing. She talked about how we don't wage peace. We really just prepare for war. She talked about the serious issues of race and reparations. She didn't mention it, but, homelessness. We don't talk about these serious issues. We don't talk about poverty. But what I really like is Charles' response. I like his response because he, for a minute, looked a little flustered, and he admitted that these are not things that you really can debate. Like, I agree with everything that you're saying, and there's no debate in it. So that's why I would truly enjoy her being on the first stage, the first debate for the Democratic Party. Because as we have stated before, I don't know how you're going to be able to attack her position or come with something better that she has not already offered.
When you sent me the YouTube link, which kind of it was from her YouTube page.
Right.
I didn't venture to the TMZ because it's probably on the website too.
Right.
I was kind of curious as to maybe how that crowd would receive her, but I didn't go there because I wasn't ready for that, because I know how toxic that crowd would be. That would probably give a good indication about like how people would receive her on a very, salacious type site. There's one thing I disagree with her on, because I think maybe it's a contradiction from some of the things she said before. and she's talked about this nation healing, right? That would
the same thing for me. I think
that wouldn't just apply to, news anchors on CNN, Fox, or MSNBC,
right?
Because there's people out there who like what they say. That would apply to everybody. It's not just about the gatekeepers. It's about everybody, and it boils down to something that I think both, me and Will and I can agree on, is that the truth is boring.
Yes, it is.
I think that's why, most Americans don't want to look into the issues that she is bringing up, is because the truth is boring. And a good kind of indication of that, or a good example to use, I think we brought this up before. I'm not sure if we talked about this on the show or just us together, but I talked about this with my mom too. A good example to use is talk shows. I think we did talk about this last show.
We did.
Talk shows. Now, what has happened to talk shows over the past 20 years? What has happened to them?
They've pretty much gone away.
They've pretty much gone away.
Right.
But when I first started watching talk shows, obviously they weren't here before we were born, but the ones we watched actually dealt with serious issues. Had people talking. I mean, Geraldo, Jenny Jones, Sally Jesse Raphael, Donahue, Ricky Lake, they all dealt with serious shows. But what happened to them? What did they transition into?
Reality TV.
That was kind of like the precursor to reality TV. Why did they do that? Was that them gatekeeping, or was that them paying attention to the ratings? Yeah. That was them paying attention to the ratings. Every time Maury Povich did a paternity test show, ratings skyrocket. Every time he did a show that says, hey, I've been gay all this time, I've been fronting. You know what I'm saying? Or
1997, 1998, Jerry Springer, The Fights, even Oprah. You even see how Oprah transitioned. She didn't go to the salacious kind of format, but she started having Hollywood stars sitting on the couch all the time and not dealing with serious stuff. You know what I'm saying? So even her show transitioned away from dealing with serious issues because the truth is boring. And I don't think it's just about media gatekeepers and kind of mysterious people up top. I guess what I'm trying to say is the ratings for some of these serious shows that actually tried to deal with issues, those platforms, people didn't like that. The viewership dropped off. So that's a problem with the electorate right there. That's a problem with us. Yeah, the people that she's talking about though, I can understand what she's saying, because when she goes to actually meet the people where she's campaigning in these 4 first primary states, she doesn't see a problem with her message resonating with them. So I get that that's what she's talking about. It's not so much of like her convincing people like this is the problem and this is the way we have to attack the problem. This is what we need to do.
Right.
But as for Marianne Williamson, her reach is only but so far at this point, because she's not in that Democratic establishment. She's not a past candidate, or she's not a past Congress member. She has never held elected positions or anything like that. So to be new into this arena and to speak about the things that she is speaking about, of course, there is going to be some type of suppression here. Right, so if she, that's why I would like her to be on the stage. And I've seen some comments in the chat already about not being familiar with her and not really seeing any policy ideas from her. We've covered her on a few occasions now, several occasions. And if you go to her website, Marianne2020.com, the information is vast, okay? I think it's much more expansive than any other candidate, and that's probably including Andrew Yang as well. So just on reparations, which we have talked about with her, and her ideas on it, she is calling for over $100 billion to go towards Black Americans in terms of educational and economic renewals. It's like I said, it's expansive. There's no way we could go through it on one entire show.
Go to her site. It's like reading a book.
Yes.
It makes sense because that's what she does for a living. She writes books.
Yes.
And she writes books on a particular subject where you have to write extensively to explain yourself. That's like human psychology, philosophy, self-help, blah, blah, blah.
But she has explained her policy ideas. So that's not true that she hasn't gone into depth. She's gone into much more depth than I believe any other candidate has, actually. She just has not received the same type of coverage as your candidates that are leading the polls. So we'll see going forward. She is going to be in South Carolina next week, I believe.
We're gonna try to make.
Yeah,
that.
we're gonna try to make it to that to see if we can cover that event. Maybe ask her a question. Now, we don't really know what the setup is gonna be, but hopefully we will be able to get some kind of coverage for you there. But all right, let's go on. Where are we gonna go now? We're gonna go to.
Do you want to do the because we have kind of two police brutality or police overuse of force type stories.
Yeah, we can go to those. Let's go to the. Let's go to Parham.
Yeah, because that's the bigger one.
All right, so back on September 15th, 2018, in New York City, 19-year-old Christopher Parham was working a job at La Nutena restaurant, and he was working as a delivery driver. Parham was sent to a grocery store to pick up some items, and he was using the restaurant's motorized scooter. After leaving the store, Parham was tackled to the ground, tased, and arrested by plainclothes officers. Parham was charged with 8 separate charges, including reckless endangerment, driving with no helmet, reckless driving, and disorderly conduct. So there has been some video that has emerged recently that picked up the arrest, and so we're gonna talk you through it because there's no audio. So here it is. At the beginning, you can see him pulling up on his motorized scooter, and he parks it, and it is in the walkway. So that's not the proper place to park it, but he's just parking it there. He walks into the store, and soon after that, a plainclothes officer follows him in. And so that's him right there walking. All right. So you can see him turn around, and now he's walking out, and a store employee, follows him outside. Now, at this point, another plainclothes officer, who's a woman, she starts looking at the bike. Just starts checking the bike. We don't know what they're checking for or what, but she's just checking the bike.
What's the reasonable cause here?
Right, exactly.
And the employee is probably a little bit more sensitive to this situation because he knows the delivery driver.
Yeah, so he walks back in, and he tells him, you can't see Christopher Parham at this point, but he's telling him that somebody is messing with his bike or looking at his bike. So towards the right hand of the screen, you see Christopher Parham walk out, and that's where he's met by the plainclothes officer, who puts his hands on him. Then it follows it outside. He gets tackled to the ground, wrestled to the ground. 3 officers are on top of Christopher Parham. So they're struggling with him. At some point, he is tased. And we sped this up a little bit so that you can see what happens. And this portion is important for a specific reason that we're going to get to. But take note of the surroundings. Just take note of the individuals that are surrounding this situation.
The number of onlookers.
Yes.
The number of onlookers.
So he's taken up, and he is led away, and he is arrested. And like I said, he was charged with a number of different counts of different charges, a number of individual charges. When he got to the precinct, I believe, the police officer said that he gave them the wrong name. He gave them the name, I believe, Christopher Perez.
Yeah. That was most likely because he was diagnosed with a concussion from the fall.
But
they charged not the fall, but yes, his assisted fall, which is a tackle.
Right. But they did charge him, since he gave him the wrong name, they charged him with falsifying
your identity.
His identity, the reason why I highlighted the need to pay attention to the people that were around him, because one of the charges that were filed against him was disorderly conduct, and I mentioned that. Now, the reason why he was charged with disorderly conduct is because in the police report, these officers stated that because of the arrest, because he was arrested and he caused his own arrest, that caused about 30 people to surround the situation, which meant that now this is disorderly conduct and we must charge you for that.
Yeah, the account noted in the report said, quote, violently resisted and sparked a public disturbance that caused a crowd to gather. Parham, gonna come before all that. But yeah, that's what they claim happened. He violently resisted.
Now, we didn't see...
And sparked a public disturbance. And within that report, how many people did they specify had gathered around this event?
Yeah.
How many?
30.
30 people.
Yeah, around 30.
Now, I mean, even if you watch it, you know, just casually, you can tell there's maybe 5.
About 5.
5.
And there's people walking by, too. You can't count them because, of course, this is a street. People walk. This is New York City. Of course, people are walking by. But people that are actually congregating on this corner, so this is about 5.
So that's what triggered the disorderly conduct charge.
Yes. So that was a lie. That was one lie.
There was another claim that they made in regard to this event, and that was they claimed they observed people in the crosswalk move out of the way abruptly to avoid being struck by Parham.
Yes, when he was
pulled up. They said
parked.
people in the crosswalk had to jump out of the way. So that was the reckless driving part.
Right. We see you saw the video. You saw the video. We saw the video, and didn't see any motions. Didn't see any people in the way. Didn't see people like trying to weave out of his way or anything like that. He had a clear path to the curb, and that was it.
Now, what was the dude who walked in? Who was that?
I believe that was Lieutenant Henry Daverin.
Okay, like the way he was standing. Okay, like I don't think it's clear that Daverin was an officer. You see what I'm saying?
Because these are plain clothes.
Yeah, he had like a badge, but if you look at the way he was turned, you can't really tell he's an officer. No. So I mean, like, and he immediately puts his hand on Parham.
Right.
He immediately puts his hands on him.
As soon as he walked out,
he put like
He's trying to lead him.
So right there, you are kind of like infusing the situation.
Right.
And I'm not going to respond well. I know me. I'm not going to respond well to some rando pushing up on me, coming out, and also thinking that, hey, somebody's messing with my bike. And it's actually not his bike. He's actually a delivery driver, so it's not his bike. It's a restaurant's bike. So I'll be like on guard. Oh, snap.
Because this ain't my bike.
This ain't my bike.
Right.
So obviously I'm going to be, my emotions are going to be a little bit heightened at that point. So, but what I want to do is give just a little history on Lieutenant Daverin. And I think he was wearing like a Don't Tread on Me shirt?
Don't Tread on Me.
A Don't Tread on Me shirt. Now, according to the new police conduct tracker released by the Legal Aid Society, it turns out he has been named in at least 10 previous lawsuits that have resulted in almost $80,000 in settlements. So if he has proven himself to be such a liability, why is he still employed as a police officer? This kind of like is an illustration of why he was named in 10 lawsuits. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You posted the video to our Facebook page.
That's right.
And what did you write? You wrote something.
I believe I said something like we were confused. Was this the part where they were protecting or serving?
Okay. So if the role of a police officer and Lieutenant Daverin and what the other dude's name was Tyler, was that the woman's name?
Tyler Howe.
Tyler Howe. So if their role is public safety and to protect and serve, it seems as if like they weren't fulfilling that role in that moment.
No, it seemed like they were, like you said, inflaming the situation, escalating tensions. Because again, as a plainclothes cop, you understand that people are not going to just perceive you as being law enforcement. They can't. And I don't believe you want them to perceive you as that because you are plain clothes. I mean, that's the whole, like, why would you be walking on the street on duty plain clothes if you wanted the perception of being a cop, right? So why are you putting your hands on somebody and you looked like just a regular citizen? Like, now we didn't see him struggle, like jerk away from him or anything like that.
He was just kind of like, wait a second, what are you doing?
Exactly.
Wait a second, what are you doing? That seems like a logical reaction.
A very logical reaction. And it turned into this guy being wrestled to the ground, tased, arrested, concussion. The charges that he's facing, the 8 different charges that he's facing, all of them, they can add up to a possible 1 year in prison. Because I believe they were all misdemeanor charges.
Well, they're all misdemeanors. 3 of them are charges related to the scooter. That's like the helmet, the reckless driving, and I think has something to do with the registration of the bike, but it has nothing to do with them because I think there's some different rules as far as registration goes for like vehicles that are used to deliver food. Right. So their type of registration is a little bit different. So I guess, police officers have to kind of like keep that in check. They originally thought the bike was stolen, but upon talking to the restaurant, they figured out it wasn't. First of all, what was the reasonable suspicion that the bike was stolen in the first place? Most people who steal bikes, you know what they do? They usually don't just walk around casually and make stops and stuff like that.
Right.
But yeah, one other thing that enrages me about the situation is the DA is going forward with this with the charges.
Yes.
And he's facing a court date next month.
Yes. And he's seen the video. The DA has seen the video.
Seen this video. So basically, according to the video, the accounts of Tyler and Daverin, Lieutenant Dav, are lies.
Clearly lies.
Clearly lies.
But the DA does not care.
This Parham doesn't have a criminal record.
Nope. And so right now, he does have an attorney, and they are looking for any witnesses that were there so that they can offer testimony. Because, again, it seems like this case is going to proceed, and they're going to charge him with these different accounts, with these different charges. So, or they're going to or try to convict him on these different charges, which is
at most
absurd.
At most, what can you charge him with? Just riding without a helmet. That is it, and that's a fine, and that's it.
At most, he should have got a citation. At the very most, because a different cop would have been like, "Yo, come on, man, seriously, why are you parking right here? Man, come on, man, you got to move this." End of the story. If you wanted to make a problem for him, like, you know what, man? Hell no. You know what? I'm not letting this go. You know what? What's your name? Give me your ID, man. I'm writing you a ticket, man. And that was it. There was no reason to escalate this. There was no reason to put your hand on him. There was no reason to make a scene out of this. This was a minor infraction.
Wait a second. Isn't it ironic, right, that that's one of the charges, that he wasn't wearing a helmet? Because that's seen as a safety issue. You can sustain serious injuries if you crash without a helmet.
Right.
Serious injuries to your head.
Yeah.
So let's show him, let's teach him a lesson on how unsafe that is by slamming his head into the pavement.
They wanted to teach him how sensitive the head was.
That's
this is how sensitive your head is, man.
I'm glad you put it like that. I did not look at it like that. They were trying to teach him a lesson.
He got an education that day.
A safety education.
Yeah.
Right.
He'll remember that. Or maybe he won't because he had a concussion.
Yeah, I know, right?
Anyway, all right, so we have an update as well. This is a story we did, I don't know if it was last week or the week before.
I think it was last week.
Could have been last week.
It was Tuesday or Thursday of last week.
Okay. So this was a situation took place on March 5th of this year in Miami, Florida, where there were 2 women that were leaving a residence, one of the women's residences, and a neighbor started to hurl insults at them. Just very crude insults at them as well. So he ended up pointing a shotgun at them, and so they ran away. And then when they got to somewhere where they felt that they were safe, they called 911. And so what ended up happening was that one of the women ended up getting arrested by one of the officers there. And that officer's name was Officer Alejandro Giraldo. And so we showed the video last week, or whenever we talked about this, we showed the video, and this was from the perspective of the friend who was filming. And you could see that we thought it was very inappropriate for this officer to be arresting this woman because she had done nothing wrong. She didn't get aggressive. She didn't make any moves towards the officer. She didn't do anything wrong, but she had an elevated voice at times. So this officer said that she was, I guess it was disorderly conduct.
Disorderly and combative.
Yeah,
and all
combative,
that stuff.
and she needed to be arrested. So that's what that's what he did. So she was arrested. I believe she spent about 4 hours in the back of a police cruiser. Then she was taken to jail. She was booked. I believe she spent hours in the jail before being bonded out. I believe the bond was like $150, but it took a very long time to get that processed. So this all while the neighbor is the reason why this all happened in the first place. The neighbor is the one that pointed a shotgun at these two women. And the neighbor had not been charged with anything for days. So days later, he was finally arrested and actually charged for his actions. So after we talked about that situation on the show, there's been some more video that came out. The video from the perspective of the arresting officer now.
So
the body cam footage.
There's more context.
Oh, there's a lot more context, and it's much worse. So we'll show a little bit of that video so you can see what happens.
So he calls you a hooker, you called him a faggot, at which point, if you see him going back inside the house.
He didn't go in the house.
He had that shotgun with him already.
He already, I don't know. All I know is he bent down, picked it up, and told me he was going to shoot me in the head. That's what he told me.
Okay.
It happened. He never went in the house.
Never went in the house.
He never went in the house.
You saw it right there.
So
he
bent down. He has a bunch of trees. All we know is he turned and came up like this.
Okay, give me a sec.
He was in the fence the whole time. We were right here. Like, is there cameras out here that can prove this? There's street cameras. There's
okay, where are they?
He got cameras saying he got cameras. There's a camera right there. Y'all need to do something.
Oh yeah, and you need to chill out.
Okay? I just asked if I could go down next door and
you need
call
to chill out.
Kids.
You need to chill out because now you're gonna be arrested.
Excuse me.
You're being disorderly right now.
I'm asking. I'm talking to her.
You're gonna be arrested.
I'm talking to this lady.
Okay, I'm gonna give you one more chance. If you don't calm down, I'm gonna bring you in.
I'm calm. I'm calm. I just want to go talk to my kids. I have a very important phone call.
Okay.
I just asked if I could go next door and charge my phone. My daughter is sick. I don't have time for this.
You're screaming again.
I'm freaking out.
Second time, okay? You are acting disorderly. You will be arrested, okay?
Got a gun
Get it right.
my face. My
Okay, we're going to help you out.
We're trying
We're going to help you out.
Listen, we're here to investigate. Just calm down.
You know what? She needs to be made corrected, if anything.
Calm down.
All right?
Why do I have to be corrected when my life was just threatened? My daughter's sick. I just want to go next
Are you going to
door
continue
and charge
screaming?
my phone. Do not touch me. Do not touch me. Do not touch me. Do not record this. Do not touch me. Do not touch me. Do not touch me.
Facility.
Yo, that is infuriating to see that added footage because we didn't see anything that was leading up to the arrest before. Actually, all we saw was just a very short window preceding him actually confronting her. But he says something like, he says, you're being disorderly. How do you be disorderly when, first of all, understand the situation. She just had a shotgun pointed at her, okay? She wants to go home. So, of course, you know, emotions are heightened. She's tense, no doubt. And she's having to answer these ridiculous questions about, okay, so where was the shotgun and did he have to go inside for the shotgun? Does all of that matter?
You can tell what direction he was going and kind of how he was questioning her and how he was questioning them gave an indication that he really didn't take this seriously.
No.
Because he's like, you waited for him to go inside.
Right.
And I'm
Why
like,
didn't you leave?
Why didn't you leave? I'm like,
did they know that the shotgun was going to be pointed at them
exactly.
at that point?
And also, like a lot of people keep like bats and shotguns right by their door.
Right.
So if he's coming to antagonize them, you know he probably brought it and he had it like in close proximity. Mm-hmm. But the moment it appears when the officer got set off was when she says, y'all need to do something.
Y'all got to do something.
And as soon as she said, y'all got to do something, which really wasn't that loud, that's when you can tell he was agitated. Because
I'll bring you in.
I'll bring you in. Like dog. Like he felt some kind of way because she was questioning maybe how they were approaching the situation. So he got like all offended. And he like was this close.
He snapped, man.
He snapped. That's the moment he snapped. And it just seems like he can't tell the difference between someone who is upset, exasperated, and traumatized and emotional, and between somebody who is like antagonistic, aggressive, and unruly. All those things are the same.
Was she doing like that or something like that?
And like she actually wasn't talking that loud.
Not that loud.
And for the most part, it seemed as if he was louder than she was.
Yep. Especially when he was threatening to bring her in. Like, this is completely ridiculous. Again, you can understand her heightened emotions. But it didn't call for an aggressive response. Police officers, and we have to say this all the time. Get buttoned up here. Police officers have a very tough job. Okay, we understand that. The job of a police officer is very tough. It's very difficult. And you never know what kind of situation they're going to be confronted with. Mm-hmm. That's why it takes a particular type of individual, because you have to handle different types of personalities while on the job. Maybe you'll have to deal with somebody that's very aggressive. Maybe you'll have to deal with somebody that's very calm. Maybe you'll have to deal with a very difficult personality, or maybe you'll have to deal with somebody that's very calm and, you can talk to them. They're personable. You have to, there's a range of personalities, there's a range of personalities globally, but they just have to be a police officer in their area. So in their area, of course, there's many different types of personalities, but you know that going in. You know that when you put on the badge, when you put on the gun, you put on the uniform, you know that you're going to have to deal with different types of personalities. You have to be prepared for that. So if you're dealing with somebody that is emotionally heightened, wouldn't you have the same response, or shouldn't you have the same response as if you are dealing with somebody that is not in that state of being?
I'll go further than that. And I will say that is not a particular, quality that a cop or a police officer has to have, just police officers exclusively. That's actually a quality that most people should have in any job. Because
customer service.
Most jobs out there are customer service jobs.
That's right.
Even if it's not a quote unquote customer service job, you are serving people. Like if you're a nurse, it's not classified as customer service, but you are serving a lot of people.
That's
you
right.
come across a lot of people in emergency situations. So again, you can just name any job out there where you have exposure to a lot of different people and have to gauge how you respond and how you engage with those people based on their personality and what they're giving off. That just doesn't apply to cops. But I think what Will is trying to say is it's more important if you're a cop because you have so much power.
Yes, you do. And look, again, difficult personalities. Let's say somebody is truly being difficult and combative with the police officer, and the police officer is there to help that said individual. Now, I think it would be perfectly within the officer's rights to be like, you know what? Hey, if you're going to act like this, I mean, I'm not going to help you as long as you're acting like this. I'm going to, I'm going to say here, all right, are you done? Are you done? Are you done? I mean, I'm not going to escalate the situation because that would be pointless. But if you want to act like an ass, then okay, act like an ass, but we're not going to get anywhere here. I have no problem with the officer taking that type of action, but this didn't call for it. She wasn't being an asshole. She was tense. She was agitated because she just had a shotgun pointed at her. And she wasn't being disorderly. She didn't make any threatening movements. She wasn't aggressive. Her voice was a little bit heightened. And she said that y'all need to do something because you are just standing around and nothing's happening. She asked to be taken to the home so that she can charge her phone, that she can call her kids. Still nothing's happening. She's getting more and more anxious. And you decide that, there's one way I can really fuck up her day. I can arrest her. That'll do it. That'll show her who's the boss. Thankfully, this officer right now, although he is still employed with, as a police officer, he is not on duty. So he has turned in his gun and badge, but effectively he's just on administrative leave until the completion of an investigation. And you know how usually, you know how those things go usually. So he might be walking the beat, driving the beat, whatever.
Yeah, because we've seen more egregious actions.
Yep. That has resulted in no disciplinary measures.
Exactly. So, yeah, not too confident that this will kind of actually result in any kind of significant discipline.
But
disciplinary action.
The charges against her have been dropped, though. The charges against her have been dropped.
See,
that's the good news.
You know what I don't like, though? Because we've seen that before, where the charges are dropped, but no disciplinary action is taken, which doesn't make sense.
No,
because if you're
you can't take that action and no disciplinary action.
Because if you're saying the charges are dropped, that means you are saying the charges were improperly applied
and full of shit. The charges are full of shit.
Bluntly.
Exactly.
Yes.
But the officer that brought her in and booked her, he should not be penalized whatsoever. Even though she had to stay in the back of a police cruiser for hours. Even though she was in the jail for hours. Yeah, that didn't do anything to her. Nah, that's just a bad day. She'll just sleep it off.
You know, somebody mentioned in the comment section...
While he's still being paid.
While he's still being
paid.
Someone mentioned in the comment section, I can't remember who and I can't remember where, because there's a lot of people commenting, and mentioned something like there's a lot of police departments that only require officers or potential officers to have high school diplomas. I mean, I can see how that's a problem, but at the end of the day, you know, when I think about that, I'm just like, you know what? I don't know if that actually has that much of an effect on how, like, you know what I'm saying? I don't know how significant that is.
I don't know either.
You see what I'm saying? Like, to have an effect on how someone deals with another person.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
It is about the atmosphere in these precincts. It is about the atmosphere of law enforcement in general. You know what? You know what I can compare it to?
What?
How many times do you hear, and we follow sports, okay? We follow basketball, baseball, football. How many times do you hear that there's a cancer in the locker room? There's somebody that's killing like team spirit, and like the coach has lost the locker room, this and that, right? So there has to be an overhaul. A lot of times the coach gets fired, the players get released or traded because you want to cure what's going on in that locker room. You want a strong unit together because maybe the coach is allowing too many of this negativity to really run rampant. He doesn't really have control anymore. He's allowing late or late arrivals. He's allowing absences. He's just allowing all this type of behavior, and it's not leading to something that's productive. You can compare that to what's happening with law enforcement. The culture of law enforcement is we're acceptive of all of this bad policing, all of this police brutality, and we're not changing the culture whatsoever because we don't feel the need to. Who's forcing us?
I think it's kind of important that you mentioned that, and you mentioned culture. It kind of clashes with Leonessa's comment, which reads, they go through training for weeks to months, just need better training. I do think that's a part of it, but if you think about how old a lot of these trainees are when they go to the academy, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, I don't think weeks of training can kind of filter out or evaporate what they've internalized for 20 plus years.
No.
I think that's the problem. And you mentioned it being a culture problem. So they've internalized like their surroundings and their environment for 20 plus years, and we think that like a few months of training is going to cause all that to evaporate. I do think that definitely training is important, and I'm not going to just like dismiss that point, but there's way more to it.
You got to change the culture, and if they're not being forced to change their behaviors, their attitudes, if you're not mandating that change, if they're not being held accountable to actually conduct good policing, if you're just giving them an excuse, if that police union is always there riding for them, backing them up, no matter what they do, what's going to cause them to change? Nothing.
So kind of what you're pointing to is consequences. That's a part of training too. Right. Isn't that a part of training? Discipline is a part of training too.
No doubt.
You can't eliminate discipline from the training process. You
cannot.
And you made a good analogy talking about sports teams.
Right. Because if you don't hold them accountable.
You've played sports, haven't you?
Yes, I have.
What happened when y'all screwed up?
Please, there was nothing but discipline. Accountability. And that.
What if that wasn't there? How would you play?
Oh,
how do you think you would play?
Because the players would run the team then, right? The players would run the team. And if you have players that don't believe in accountability, players that really don't believe in doing the right things to lead to a productive result, a positive productive result, then you're not going to get that result. These are the serious questions. Oh, well, these are the serious topics that Marianne Williamson are talking about. Criminal justice reform. We need to talk about it, no doubt. We need to do more than just talk about it. And it's so, you know, this is a whole nother subject, or not really a whole nother subject. It's kind of off on a tangent, but that's kind of the conversation that Colin Kaepernick wanted to start. You know, wanted to start a national conversation about criminal justice reform.
But too many people had hurt feelings.
Little boo-boos. Little boo-boos. I don't know where they were, but
too many
boo-boos somewhere.
Had hurt feelings.
Yeah, couldn't talk about it. It was unacceptable. Couldn't really take a serious look at this nation and what ails
Their
it.
feelings were diverted towards like a huge amount of sympathy for the flag, the national anthem, and not actually in the area that matters, and that's the lives of human beings.
The lives of human beings, because at the end of the day, you want to do what's best for the inhabitants of this country, right? Because that's what makes up the United States of America. We are the United States of America. Without the people, what the hell is this land? All right, we're gonna end the commentary there. We have one more, but we can do that. We can do that next week. Let's get to these calls because it's already 8:50.
8:50.
So definitely want to hear from you now. Now is the time. So if you do have a question or comment, we would love to hear your input. So the number to call is 669-900-6833. Last few shows, we have gotten a lot of calls, you know, 6, 7 calls, something like that. Yeah. And we have heard from some new voices as well. So we definitely want to keep hearing from new voices. Like I said, that's why we do this live environment, because I think it's important to hear from, you know, the community that we have, hear different takes on the things that we discuss. You know?
Yeah, because if we kind of reintroduce the show, because we did take a break. If we would have reintroduced the show, you know, using the same format, this wouldn't be possible.
Nope.
Because we just used to do standard shoot a video, post-production, editing, and then upload it. So, yeah. Yeah, man. I know somebody's going to want to talk about this scooter patrol situation.
Yeah.
Boy,
yeah.
I swear, man, they were like treating this like something heavy, man. Like
something heavy, man.
Like they were like a doggone scooter bandit task force or something.
Yeah.
Like there was a bunch of, you know, there's a scooter gang just roving around the neighborhood, just popping off stores and knocking off convenience stores. That's what I would have thought it was for how they treated the situation. Like there was like a scooter gang. Yo,
this is NYC too. You remember what happened years back with the tennis star James Blake?
Man.
Got tackled standing there
outside of a hotel.
Yes, just standing there, minding his own damn business. This officer just comes in, pummels the guy. All right, so let's get to our first caller. First caller is coming from the 770 area code. You are on the air live with LTMB.
Hey, what's up? This is Tony.
What's going on, Tony? Good to hear from you again tonight.
All right, good to hear from you. I was just going to comment on the, well, a couple things. One was that governor that he was saying that when are men going to stop? When are men going to be asked? Is it okay if they run?
Hickenlooper.
Yeah, John Hickenlooper.
Hickenlooper.
I think maybe he's kind of the way he framed it, because I kind of understand, but of course he didn't say it, so I'm kind of putting words in his mouth.
Right.
But you know, like how that one lady from what was that? The Daily Beast. She wrote that article.
Right.
Talking about all you old white men. Maybe he's referring to that type of attitude, because there is a crowd of certain women that go around and do that. You know, and that's their rallying call. That's their, you know, the call of the wild while they know who to flock around. And I've noticed that. Maybe that's what he's referring to.
See, the only thing that I'd say about that was the question was about the VP. It wasn't asking him to step aside. It was just asking about the VP. Like, are you considering having a woman? Just answer that question. And this man just went off and like, yo, but what about men?
Ask women the same thing. Gosh. Man, what an annoying question. It's not fair.
It's kind of silly looking at him saying it. I mean, I totally feel it. But, you know, at the same time, maybe he's talking about all this pushback against white men. Because you see it a lot in certain media outlets. And since these media outlets have, like, you know, a big megaphone, it just seems like, you know, it's a hot issue. When it isn't, when it really isn't. It's because, like, y'all are quite comfortable. Y'all not going nowhere.
Right.
I thought he was going to, like storm off the stage like George Jefferson.
Weezy!
I swear.
Which leads me into that lady, like I was saying, that wrote that article. It's like there's a certain crowd that always writes this stuff, and it's always the same people that was writing in 2016. Like they're the anti-white man, anti-Bernie, and it's like, especially just anti-white man. No more white men. And it's like, well, what are we going to get?
Yeah.
White woman. All right, we'll get a white woman. And then the white lady's like worse than the white man. It's like, no, dude, we don't want that.
If they represent the whole
why
same
do you have
thing?
something against women? What's up with that? Like, what? That has nothing to do with anything.
I was like, wasn't Hillary a white woman?
And representing the same thing that
the same thing?
any other white man was representing?
You can go cross party too. Isn't Susan Collins a white woman? Isn't Sarah Palin a white woman?
Right.
You know
and
what
would they bring to the game that was different?
What about who is press secretary? Huckabee? Hello, you guys. Sanders?
Exactly.
Like, again, I've said before, it's definitely past time for us to have more female leadership and a female VP, a female president. No, it's well past then. We need more female representation, right? But yeah, not just for the sake of just doing it. All right, I'm going to be all in on a woman if that woman is the right person for the job. No doubt. I think everybody should have that mentality. So if she is the right woman for the job, I have no problems whatsoever. This was just a, like, Hickenlooper. It wasn't asking you to, like sign right here. You are going to commit to choosing. You're not even going to be relevant.
See,
we got to admit that. He's not even going to be relevant in this field. But even if he was, nobody's asking for your signature. Like, commit to having a woman VP. Just like, hey, yeah, I'm definitely going to consider it. There's some strong candidates out there that I would select from.
And to kind of make a point about this kind of very toxic sentiment that make blanket statements about white men like that, just all the white men got to move out the way. I think that definitely comes from a particular crowd, and that's that privileged feminist brunch crowd, that kind of crowd that really doesn't genuinely want to see America go too far from what it really is. They just want to see some sort of superficial face behind it.
A different type
because
of
they are essentially the next class up.
Yeah.
They understand that.
They understand
They understand that their power is tied to their privilege and their whiteness as white women, and so they are kind of approaching this situation like that and just using white men as the easy target when they're about the same shit. You know what I'm saying?
Which reminds me of that tweet. I think it was like 2 or 3 months ago, right? And it was in regards to the military-industrial complex. It was like, this is the first time ever we've had all women leading the military-industrial complex. I was like, who gives a shit? These people blow up people, and y'all fucking celebrating because it's all women. Like, what the fuck is going on?
If they're not actually changing anything, again, it's like we're rehashing the same things. We had this conversation in 2016. Like, I don't care if the Democratic field consisted of 10 candidates, 9 of them were black, and 1 was white. Man, if that white candidate was the one that I would believe in, I have no problem just moving aside the other 9 that are people of color. I don't care. No, y'all aren't bringing something that's going to actually change the system and do something that's representative of the people. Get out of the way. Let's let this white man have it, or let's let this white man lead and actually take us to a place that's actually beneficial to us.
Yeah. Yep. But that's pretty much all I had. I'm going to let somebody else talk.
All right, man, Tony. Always good to hear from you, man.
All right, y'all have a good one.
All right, we're going to go to 267 area code. You are on the air live.
Hey, what's up? This is Phil from Philly again.
What's up, Phil?
Phil from Philly.
Nothing much. I actually super chatted y'all, but I figured I would call in because I'm not doing nothing. So,
Okay.
my question was, what power ticket do y'all think will come out of the like the corporate Democrats? Because I'm thinking the only way that I see them even coming close to really challenging Bernie without just outright rigging it is if they come up with some like Beto, O'Dort, and Kamala ticket, or you know, Biden and Stacey Abrams, or Andrew Gillum and so and so. Like
that one right there.
But I've never really. I just thought of it today, so I haven't really put that much thought into it. But
the
like,
one that you
like,
just,
I'm not
just talked
considered,
about.
like,
The one that you just talked about, Joe Biden and Stacey Abrams. I don't know if that just came to you or you saw the article.
Yeah, I saw the article.
But I saw an article about there was some. I guess this is something that's going on in the media.
Insiders,
some insiders.
Biden campaign.
Yeah, they're trying to convince, or maybe they're trying to convince Biden to choose Stacey Abrams, and not at the end, not the end of the whole primary season, right now, and run on that
as soon as he announces. Like he's basically using like Stacey Abrams as like some sort of like platform. As in and of itself. To me, that's so disrespectful.
A damn pawn.
That's the point. That's so disrespectful because he's trying to like I guess capitalize off of the energy she created. She's trying to capitalize off of everything that she built without him.
And she's in a southern state.
And this.
Yeah, and it's a southern state too. Like
And
he's trying to capitalize off all the work that she did. And that's to me. But that's funny, like as you were asking the question, two names popped in my head. And the two names that popped in my head were the first two names that you mentioned. That's Beto O'Dort and Kamala.
Kamala Cop.
Kamala. Those are now that's the first inclination I had. Because those are the first two they have been pushing. Those are the first two that were talked about as far as who was trying to link up with Democratic insiders in Obama to determine who's going to get this money. Those are the first two. So I was like, oh, those are the most likely two. And I just think that right now there's like this intra-party race to figure out what combination is going to work. And I think that's why this whole idea about Biden and Stacey Abrams is being floated, because they're trying to test this out. They're trying to test out the very question you asked.
But I can also see Biden being the top of the ticket and somebody like Kamala Harris being VP as well. And I think that would actually, I don't know if that would work better or not. I don't know if that would work better than Stacey Abrams or not. Actually, if he's going to run on that though, that is going to look so whack. Like, I don't know who is not going to see through that type of attempt. That you actually select somebody in primary season to be your VP. Nobody does that. They always wait until like after the convention or just before the convention when they know they have the delegates to actually come away with that nomination. But running, like you don't see these major party candidates doing that. So you would automatically have to be like, like what are you trying to do here?
It looks like what it looks like is, you know, like usually fathers do this. When they take their family, their kids to an event, like a park or a concert or some sort of show, what do they do with their kids? The little kids, what do? They put them on their shoulders. That's what fathers do. In this situation, it would be Abrams being the father. It would be Abrams being in the position of the father and having Biden on her shoulders. That's what it looks. That's what it would look like. It would look like Abrams carrying Biden on her shoulders. That's what it would look like.
But you know what? I kind of, for some reason, I kind of want them to do that because the way I see it, if they do that earlier than they normally do, like, you know, announce a VP, if they force Bernie to announce his VP earlier than he wants to, but it's somebody like Nina Turner or Elizabeth Warren combines with him or Tulsi or whatever, like, if Bernie has his own power ticket running against their power ticket, I'll take his power ticket all day.
No doubt. I can see that.
So you think they're just trying to pump fake? You just think that they're trying to pump fake to get him to like make a hasty decision, and then possibly when the primaries are over, he won't have the second strongest Democratic candidate to put on his team?
I think that's what it is, but I think what it is they're desperate because it's like they're trying everything and nothing to this point has really worked.
Okay.
Because in my opinion, outside of like the older population that like still watches CNN and Fox News, outside of that population, I feel like most people, like there's an overwhelming support for Bernie, obviously, but then even like Tulsi online and Yang is doing pretty well.
Right.
It's like the mainstream narrative is like nothing is really working. So I don't know how early they're going to actually announce it, but like because all the centrists running just individually by themselves, like especially if Abrams or Gillum ran in the race by themselves, that would split the centrist vote even more. And even as it is, like some centrists are doing horribly. Like Gillibrand is like doing worse than Yang.
No doubt.
Klobuchar has no traction. Sherrod Brown dropped out already, I think.
Yeah, he did.
Cory Booker is like, out of all of them, Kamala's the really only one that I see as a threat individually by herself. Yeah. And that's why I think if Kamala did a power ticket with maybe Beto or somebody, that would be the only one that I would. Because me, I don't like to underestimate.
Yeah.
Because even though based on the policy, I think it's pretty clear that there's, even Marianne, I think is like probably the third best candidate behind Bernie and Tulsi. I mean, Elizabeth Warren I like on certain issues, but like with the Medicare for All, she kind of tiptoed around. Like, I wouldn't mind Elizabeth Warren as like VP or like something in Bernie's administration, but Kamala, like, because Beto individually, I think he is pretty weak. Like, I give him credit for making Texas close because it is a red state, and I don't underestimate the general population. I don't assume I'm lucky to live in a progressive area. Philly, it has a pretty nice like progressive population of different cultures, and I have plenty of friends that are like agnostic, and even religious friends that are like super progressive and this, that, the third. But I know the country as a whole is not necessarily like that. So like I don't underestimate the mainstream controlling the narrative to some extent outside of the like millennial vote and the more informed voters. So I'm not trying to, because it's like we already seen them rig it once against Bernie. So like I'm not going to be cocky and just assume a progressive is going to win. We got to like stay on top of this stuff. And but like I said, individually, I think the centrists are just doing pretty weak. Like I said, Kamala is like a lot of these polls, she's at like 12, 11%. Yeah. And then the Liz is like 8. So if Liz joined Bernie and, that gave Bernie a bump of like 7 or 8%, I mean, that alone, because Bernie's already pretty, got a good sizable lead on everybody except for Biden in most of the polls I've seen. So
I saw a recent, I believe it was a recent CNN poll where they said like, they said Kamala Harris made a pretty big jump and now she's running third. What I hope though is that if Biden does go ahead and he runs with somebody like Stacey Abrams, runs throughout the primary with somebody like Stacey Abrams, I just hope people just see right through it. I really hope that. I have my doubts that. I
think they will. I think they will.
I don't know, man.
But the only. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I'm not that informed on Stacey Abrams. I didn't stay up on the Georgia race. Like, I love Atlanta and everything, but I had to get away from there. I mean,
there's some questions about her, no doubt.
You go on vacation, leave on probation, but I'm good on that. But the women are beautiful. But if she run, like from what I've seen, Stacey Abrams is pretty milquetoast. Like even Kamala, I think is kind of milquetoast. Like I feel like she's overrated a little bit, but I would give her more credit as a VP candidate. Like, so if Abrams runs, because it's like there's already multiple women running, so it's like she can only use that. Like, and there's another black woman running. So like all these like centrist or like center left or like identity politics Democrats, they can't choose all these different women of color running. They got to choose one.
Right.
So, and I find it funny they never use that for Tulsi. You know, they call us sexist or Bernie brews when we a lot of us were Jill Stein voters back in 2012. Like I voted for Obama in 2008, but I voted for Jill Stein back in 2012. So I voted for a woman even before 2016. But and I've donated Tulsi and Marianne, and I'm not even I'm a Bernie supporter, but I want all these progressives in the debate to help Bernie, so it's not just like him and Yang. Like I'd rather it be Bernie, Tulsi, Marianne, Yang, Elizabeth Warren, so the progressive voice as a whole. Because these debates, all these mainstream voters, when they tune into these debates, I don't want it to be just a one trick thing. Like I want it to be countless, progressive. Like Elizabeth is going to hammer home, the economy, and Bernie's going to do his thing. Tulsi's going to do the foreign policy. Yang is going to Yang has a lot of good different things he'll bring to the table. I think he wants to make the voting election day a holiday. Yeah. A lot of little different things that don't get advertised.
And see, that's what we want too. We want to see all those voices on the table too, or on that stage too, because it's going to be good for the conversation. It's going to be good in not just for the American people, but it's going to be good for those other candidates too, because if they don't have a particular type of narrative, if they're not willing to go to a certain place that these other candidates are espousing and making sense of, then they're going to look weak. Like I said, the only thing about the VP pick and running on that right now, I just don't want people to overvalue that. Because one, the VP is largely ineffectual. They don't really do that much. They aren't really seen that often. So it's it really doesn't mean too much to begin with. Now, this whole dream of a power ticket, okay, put it in its place. If it comes around the convention, fine, you can be like, oh, this is a power ticket, blah, blah, blah. But when it comes right now, that is completely transparent.
It would be more bold than, I guess, who a candidate chooses as the vice president. Because that's always talked about as far as a power ticket. But we all know it's bigger than just the president and the vice president. To me, if I hear the term or hear the word power ticket, I'm thinking of your cabinet.
Yeah. Lead with that.
Lead with that. Why not lead with that? Why not make that kind of...
Set it up now.
Why not set that up? Why don't you set your whole team up? You know what I'm saying? Give people a taste of kind of what your plan, what your team is going to look like.
Because it would make sense.
Treasury or EPA. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Anything like that.
Right. It would make sense.
That's true. And I hope the left, I don't know if any candidate has brought it up. This is going to be my last thing because I want to hear other callers, but I hope they, not just the Supreme Court, but I know Buttigieg, I'll give him credit. He brought this up, I think, in his town hall or something on CNN. We need the left to focus more, not just on criminal justice reform in the Supreme Court, but even the lower circuit court judges and stuff like that. Trump, I think, appointed 1,000 lower court judges or some crazy number. And, some of them judges are going to be there for years. Yeah. And I know I called in earlier, I think the last time I called about the George Gage situation. So you already know I do not want Kamala to win. Right. The only reason I would even vote for her in general is because I wouldn't want Trump to be in for 4 years and just appoint just more, because a lot of those lower circuit, that cases get heard or appealed in and all that. That's where the majority of cases are heard in. So, whether you're talking about exoneration cases or, a lot of Kamala's cases, a lot of those cases, and a lot of these judges, even the judges that are appointed by Democrats, a lot of them aren't even necessarily that liberal. Right. They're blue, but they're not even a lot of those California lower circuit court judges are California. And I didn't know this till I really was talking to people from California during this whole primary because I just wanted to know more about Kamala for people that live there. Like California it's really not as progressive as I thought it was. Like even people I know on the East Coast and little like pockets of like major cities, to me, I know more progressive people. Like it's not like a lot of us, like we're not lucky enough to have legal weed and all that like they are, but with Seattle, Washington, and Oregon and California, but they're not that progressive. Like there's a lot of like centrist, and I've like argued online, and honestly, I feel like it's not that different from arguing with like Trump tards. Like these centrists, like California has a lot of they have a lot of people. Like the dude that primary, and I'm not going to go on this, but the dude that primary Dianne Feinstein, I think, and or Nancy Pelosi in whatever recent election it was, he didn't even get that much support. And it's like I know that she probably outraised him by millions, but it's a lot of like actual just voters that are just I don't know, they're the weed out there or something. They're so relaxed that they're not like in tune with the working man. I don't know what it is, but it's a lot of like just barely left of center Democrats in California.
Well, think about it though. But think about it. Yeah. Like anything that progressive politics. When we talk about things that we want to get, things we want to get done. When we talk about progressive policies, progressive politicians, we just know that there's not that many of us. Okay, it's a very small circle of people that are actually progressive. Like the majority of people that are on the left are these liberals, they are on the left, but they aren't necessarily progressive. They vote for centrists day in, day out, year in, year out. These moderates, I mean, they do it all the time. So it's not.
Obama called himself a moderate Republican.
Exactly. So it's not strange to hear that, California isn't as progressive as one might think it is. It is blue. I mean, there's a lot of blue states. Like Massachusetts is blue. There's a lot of really deep blue states where if you actually take a good look at the states, like, damn, why aren't y'all doing more? I mean, y'all are running the state. Why aren't you doing more? They get comfortable though in their central.
Like y'all should have had Medicare for already.
But what's going to push them though? You know what I'm saying? Like they can afford to just be this much blue. They don't have to be really dark blue. Who's pushing them?
It's interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
And their rent is out of control, and the homelessness crisis over there is crazy. Yeah, I'm from Philly, and I have friends from Baltimore, and I mean that stuff over there, like San Francisco, like in LA, like that is ridiculous. But yeah,
I think San Francisco has like one of the highest costs of living in the United States.
Oh yeah. We got somebody that grew up with us that lives in San Francisco, and yeah, she's talked about that before.
But I do think it's interesting that there's, the person that Obama named as his political role model didn't cause people's ears to perk up.
Yeah, I remember that.
That was Ronald Reagan. There was a spread in it. I think it was Time or Newsweek. I can't remember because it was so long ago. There was a huge spread in that, and they had like his face kind of juxtaposed with Reagan's face, and they had an interview in it, and that's that was his political role model, Ronald Reagan. So, yeah, man.
All right, Phil, man, we appreciate you calling in and talking with us about some of these issues, man. Talking about California.
Oh yeah,
good to hear from you, man.
No problem, man. Yeah, I'll give y'all an update when I get something important. I'm trying to look into a commutation thing for George Gage, but
okay.
Like I'm like my legal acumen is not the greatest, so but I will definitely call back in with updates, obviously. But y'all take it easy.
All right, man. Have a good night, man.
All right, yeah. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. There was a comment in the chat that kind of highlighted something we mentioned on our last show, and I think it was by Calvin Darden. Said something about Biden being closet bigot or a closet racist. I can't remember exactly what he said, but we actually kind of mentioned that in the last show, and I think you and I kind of agreed on that. Just like hearing him talk about integration.
Oh yeah.
Hearing him talking about the crime bill and justifying that, and how he pretty much dismissed dealing with root causes. He pretty much dismissed that.
Yeah.
So yeah, and how he even talked about Obama in a weird way was like kind of suspect. So yeah, he's in the closet, all right.
All right, we got another caller from the 630 area code. You're on the air live with LTMB.
Hello,
Hello?
this is Christina.
Christina, nice to hear from you.
I'm in Illinois, so I wanted to update what has been happening. Is that okay?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Governor Pritzker, he decided that he would sign the bill that the House and Senate in Illinois got passed in February, which was to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour by 2025. The next thing we're working on in Illinois, or have been for a while, is a statewide rent control. And apparently, the governor also supports that. He also said in his inaugural address that he still wants marijuana to be legalized. And currently, for the past 2 weeks, the Chicago Symphony Orchestra has been on strike. So they're not having performances, but they'll have some free ones this month. So I just wanted to give people a little update on what's...
Why are they on strike?
They want more money. Salary-wise, because they want to be competitive. My understanding is they don't want to lose the talent they already have, like to Boston or other areas. And I also think maybe something to do with their pension or health care benefits, but that I'm not sure of. But I am sure that Nancy Pelosi actually came out and supports this. A lot of the fellow Illinois Democrats, the representatives, both the neoliberals and the progressives like Chuy Garcia are supporting this. Some people that have to do with the Hamilton, the cast or crew, and people that have to do with the television show Chicago Fire also support that. So it's a big ordeal in Illinois right now.
Okay.
And I just want people to be aware that there are good things happening. It's not all doom and gloom.
Right. Well, that's
now,
good.
I'm curious about this police incident you were mentioning today with the women.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand what exactly happened. I missed part of it. Can you give me a brief summary what happened?
Well, this was something that we talked about in the earlier show too. But basically, there were two women that had a shotgun pointed at them. It was in Miami earlier this month, and they called the police. Police arrived, and the video shows that one of the police officers arrested her because he didn't like he didn't like her attitude, and she didn't really have an attitude. She was emotional. She was tense.
Upset about what happened.
Upset about what happened, and upset about the questions that they were getting as well. And she wanted to go back to the home so that she could charge her phone and call her kids, and she wasn't, it just wasn't happening. So, like I said, it was just a lot of, she was getting more and more tense, and the video shows that the officer just overreacted. And he felt like he was, I don't know, like he felt like he shouldn't be talked to in a certain type of way, and he felt like that was a reason to arrest her. So that's what happened.
But wait a minute. The citizens don't like to be talked to by the cops by a certain way. Shouldn't the cops have sympathy for that too? It goes both ways,
Of course.
Not if you feel you're above those. Not if you feel you're above those citizens. Not if you feel your first duty is not to serve them.
Yeah.
Should is the key word. Take it personally.
Yeah. Should is the key word there, but we don't.
I agree with that. Now, do you guys know? Do cops get training in psychology?
That I don't know.
Because I think we should have a law that mandates that they get some sort of training beyond high school. I'm getting to the point where I think maybe they're out of touch with how they perceive people should react, or they don't pay enough attention in those situations. It's almost like they have a complex,
I do think they get.
I'm in charge complex.
I do think they get some sort of base training, but it's base training. It's not like they got to go through some sort of course that somebody who would major in that field will go through. They do get some kind of base training.
So
But
do
most
you
of it
guys
is.
think,
Go ahead.
go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just saying most of it is based on like criminal profiles, though.
Okay, now, considering you guys have done a lot of these incidences on your program and you broke them down, do you think we should have different sort of training now, like in psychology or humanities or something?
But see, look, we will admit or acknowledge that training is definitely key, and there needs to be an emphasis on training. But it goes much, much deeper than that. It's about what is allowed to be a part of law enforcement. It's about the culture in law enforcement. It's about the lack of accountability in law enforcement, because when something happens, you have several lines of support, several stages of support.
Unions.
Yes.
Unions. You have unions, DAs, and you have juries.
Fellow officers. Regular people.
Regular people. That's what I mean by juries.
Yeah.
People, yeah.
So it's you have to change that. You have to change the culture inside. You have to actually facilitate an atmosphere where the type of behavior that we see from these horrible police officers is not tolerated anymore.
And
it's not really, like, training isn't just training alone is not going to fix it.
Yeah, probably one of the most important factors is this kind of assumption that people in uniform are blameless. Like this kind of this bend to authority that a lot of Americans have.
They're afforded that automatic respect.
Yeah.
Just because they wear the uniform.
Just because of that.
I totally agree, but how do you change the culture? I mean, for decades, they are taught to protect themselves. And some people think it's because they're in a union.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying I agree with that. That's just what I hear around here.
Well, you change it. Well, look, you're not going to change it with demagogues. And I said before, man, I don't know if I can't go so far as to say like the number one thing that's ailing this nation is demagogues, but it's up there. It's up there. I have to really do some thinking about if it's like the number one problem. But with demagogues, like to empower them to let their voices continue to be so powerful and I guess influence so many of us, and you don't have leaders that are actually stepping up and calling out this disastrous behavior, this behavior that is brutalizing citizens and killing citizens. If you don't have enough leaders that are actually there to push back on that, then nothing's actually going to get done. Nothing's going to get done. We live in a society where voices matter. Like people lean on these voices. People want to hear these voices, and they want to hear these voices speak the right thing. And if they're not speaking the right thing, it's going to be hard for a lot of people to determine what the right thing is.
People lean on these voices. People want to hear these.
I totally agree.
Speak the right.
Well, that's all I have to say tonight.
Okay. Okay. Well, we appreciate you calling in, Christine. Good to hear from you.
Thank you. Bye.
See you. Good night. Something else, another comment in the chat that jumped out at me because it deals with something that we may have talked about the last show. We've talked about it on many shows, and that's the Electoral College. We did talk about that last show.
Yeah, we did.
I think it was Sonia. She mentioned something very important. Not sure if you're still listening, Sonia, but I did see the comment about California's rural areas being very conservative. Now, why is that important, Will, when we're talking about eliminating the Electoral College? Because there's so much to be made about a certain group of people having so much power.
Right.
Everybody's vote mattering. If that's the case, but it's concentrated on, you know, blue states.
Well, okay, well, go ahead.
Blue states having more power.
Right, okay.
Well, I was like, well, how can we rectify these blue states having too much power?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because there are a lot of conservatives in California in the rural part. So if, you know, people were really serious and some of these politicians who talk about the Electoral College, you know, it being the standard that we should keep, they continuously want to, you know, talk about that and not abolishing it. But then at the same time talking about everybody having a voice. Those two things don't line up.
And see, that's
because those blue states do have conservatives in them.
And so that's what that's where we were talking about in the last show. Like, I've been in line here in South Carolina where a race has been called, and it's been called for the Republican because, of course, I'm a liberal. I'm not voting for the Republican. And so I'm in line thinking, okay, well, I'm not mattering in this race whatsoever, but I still have to stay in line and vote, let my vote be counted. But really the pushback that we hear, like you pointed out, was about rural areas, but not about rural areas, rural states.
Rural states.
So
Correct,
if we did just go ahead and dismantle the Electoral College, get rid of that, eliminate it, to where it's just popular vote, okay, the narrative is that rural states won't matter anymore. But what about these rural areas within these states, right? Like the system that we have right now, don't they not matter? In a state like California that is blue, if these rural areas are conservative, then their voices are being minimized.
That's kind of what they're saying. But they don't know that's what they're saying.
So what they should be doing...
the focus is on red states without actually focusing on the reds within states, then you're being disingenuous about people having a voice.
So what they should be doing is these areas, these rural areas within these blue states like California, they should be pushing for them to become another state.
They would have to be.
They should, because you don't want those voices minimized. You don't want them to be disenfranchised any longer. So just push for them to become like the 51st state or 52nd state and so forth, so on. But we don't hear about that. We just hear about these rural states that will be disenfranchised.
Oh, yeah, and it's Christina, apparently, not Christine.
I said Christina.
You did? Okay.
I did say Christina.
Yeah.
I'm going to check the tape.
Yeah, she says Christina.
I said Christina. I know you're not, hold on. I know you're not tripping when I heard Phil.
Yeah, that's right.
I think, wasn't she? You know what? I think she was, right?
I don't know. Maybe she was the one.
Was she?
Could have been Sav.
No, but there were multiple. There were multiple.
I think they was just kind of like doing that in jest.
Oh, I know, but if I want to say Christine now in jest, I'm saying. But I actually didn't, though, so.
We've reached a very important stage.
Yes, we have.
Of the show.
We have reached a very important stage of the show.
Yes, this is where the rubber meets the road.
Yeah.
Or where the chocolate meets the mouth. It's showtime.
You know, I'm already hot, too.
The main event.
I'm already hot, man.
We're about to get it popping with this chocolate.
I don't know if it's the anticipation.
This Choco challenge.
I don't know if it's the anticipation or what, but I do feel hot.
So it's like you don't got butterflies in your stomach, but
nah, I'm good, man. I'm good. All right, see, got the assistant.
So we got the
got a little
assistant here.
Got a little assistant. Thank you, my beautiful wife. Got a nice little cup of milk right here.
That's a big cup of milk, dog.
You don't know, but
she,
see,
that
she made sure.
Full. That's like sick. That's sick. That's like 20 ounces, bro.
You never know, man. See, I got some milk.
Basically chocolate milk.
I got some water. I got some paper towels. I got some bread. I even got some bread.
Somebody said edibles ? Nah, it's not edibles. They're doing the Choco challenge.
Yeah, the Choco challenge, right? So look, we're doing this because one, it's a, I don't know if I can call it a fun little challenge. I guess it's a viral challenge.
You will determine whether
how
it's
fun it is or not.
Like in a little bit.
I guess the fun is not coming from me. The fun will be coming from you,
the audience,
if you see some type of really crazy reaction from me. But it's for a good cause. It is for some of the funds. Some of the funds goes to research for prostate cancer. And it's actually cool. You know, they give you some information about prostate cancer. Prostate cancer is the most common non-skin cancer that is experienced by males in the United States, or not just in the United States, but globally. In the United States, though, more than 4 million U.S. men are currently living with prostate cancer, and 1 in 9 men will at some point throughout their lifetimes be diagnosed with prostate cancer. For black people, for black men, it's 1 in 5.
Whoa.
So it's a very important issue. If we can, fund some of that research, so we can, I know a lot, any cancer is definitely terrible, and it can lead to death. So if we can fund some research for that, so we can finally make some headway, and get some real results, find some cures, I'm all for that.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway,
in this corner, we have William Gaillard.
Let me, you know what I'm gonna do?
How tall are you? What's your weight?
I'm like 6'8".
Nah, dog. What's your weight? In this corner, we have Will Gaillard.
I'm like 180, 185.
6 foot.
You know what I'm saying?
6 foot, 185 pound chocolate Adonis.
Well, you being nice, 6 foot, man.
Okay, 5'11", 185 pound chocolate Adonis.
Yeah.
Hailing from Brooklyn, New York. And in this corner, we have actual chocolate.
Actual chocolate. All right. So again, I'm gonna take y'all all through this. Okay. So again, this is the Choco challenge. Okay, and it says warning, extremely spicy, and it is infused with the Black Reaper pepper, which I was not aware of. I never heard of the Black Reaper pepper or anything like that. It says in the box, you must be local to consume this cocoa. But anyway, I'm not somebody that has, like I always say, a dead tongue. I don't have a dead tongue. Like I always.
Oh, because you haven't been desensitized by years of spicy food.
No, see, I'm not really a spicy food eater. Like I can eat spicy food. It's not usually very, very spicy, but I mean, I can eat it. I used joke with my wife about her having a dead tongue a lot, but I'm not somebody that has a dead tongue. Oh yeah, and then when you pick up the chocolate, it says last chance to turn back. Last chance to turn back.
So basically, there's a lot of warning signs.
There's a lot of warning signs. Again, man, I'm.
See that maybe that's designed to get in your head.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I think. Look, this is Let
me see.
This is gonna be all real reactions. Okay. I'm not going to.
It's straight. It's straightforward. They're not putting anything in there to enhance the hotness of the pepper. It's just Reaper pepper and ghost pepper salt.
It is a soft chocolate. I can feel it. It's a very soft chocolate. So
because the peppers are so hot, it's melting the chocolate. It's probably
so that's how big it is. A pretty big. I think I'm gonna break it because I'm gonna put it totally in my mouth. I'm not going to chomp on it. I'm not gonna do that.
So you're gonna put the whole thing in your mouth.
I'm gonna put the whole thing in my mouth. Okay. And see, I think that's what people are just waiting for tonight too, man. What is my reach? My reach?
I guess your reach. Oh yeah, that's right. Because in boxing,
okay.
I did. You're right. See, boy, Moose got on top of it. Dang, I did forget to mention the reach. I wasn't even thinking about that.
Yeah, I don't know the measurements of my reach, but anyway. All right, man. All right.
Yo, Brian over here talking about a laxative.
All right. Here's the time, man. Here's
dun, dun, dun,
this is the truth right here, okay? This is the truth. Again, these are gonna be all real reactions. I'm not gonna, engage in theatrics or anything.
Can you do like the airplane? Like how you feed kids? Can you do
No, I'm not doing that.
You can do the airplane for them, dog?
No. You want me to act? Yeah, you want me to act like
Alex Jones and Roger Stone?
Roger Stone? Nah, not doing that.
No, because then I'll be included.
Exactly. All right, man. Let's just get to it. All right, here we go. Ready? Everybody ready?
Do it. Do it. Do it.
All right, here we go.
Do it. Hold up. Let me start this stopwatch and see how long. Let's see the stopwatch here.
Oh.
Yo, you hear this, right? Your mic is picking up everything, dog. Your mic is picking up everything, son. We're gonna take a little vote right quick while Will is trying to deal with a little situation over here. I'm gonna take a little quick vote. I want as many people to vote on this as possible. If you're still watching the show, if you've been chatting, please participate. If you've been watching the show, ain't been chatting, please participate. Will usually cuts up the videos. You know what I'm saying? Cuts up the show, the different segments of the live show. You know, to give people a little taste of our show. Because people don't watch, sometimes people don't want to watch 2.5, 3 hours of the show. So he cuts up the show for everybody. I would like Will to cut up this part, especially and upload this portion of the show. How many of y'all want Will to cut this portion of the show off this particular Choco Challenge and upload it to our channel? Facebook too, not just YouTube. See, a lot of people ain't gonna see this because they don't watch the live show. But I think this segment should be chopped off and uploaded in a separate installation, or as a separate installation. Yes, yes, yes. Look, I do. Yep. Oh, there you go. Votes coming in. Even got a little thumbs up emoji. Oh yeah. Oh, I love the participation, y'all. I love y'all. Oh yes. See, I can do this because he's dealing with something over here. So he can't really say anything. So I'm taking this opportunity. You can vote twice too. You can vote. There's no limit on how many times you can vote. This is like my own little rules here. It's Monopoly rules.
My ears are hot.
His ears hot, dog. His ears hot, y'all.
Oh shit. Does it say when it ends?
Oh no.
Does it say when it ends?
Yo, we like at 3 minutes and 30 seconds right now. But it looked like it was 30 seconds in when it started taking effect.
It feels like there's a fire in there.
But see,
breathing is the worst.
See, Moose Gal trying to get me involved, but see, I don't do milk. See what I'm saying? So I'm lactose intolerant / allergic. Can't do milk. Now, if they actually had like a version that didn't have milk.
Hold up. Hey, somebody call the police and tell them to go after a Fuego box. Because they should be charged with a crime.
What would be the crime? What would be the crime?
Attempted murder.
Damn, you going
attempted murder.
You going all the way up. You going all the way up, man. You going like that's the top shelf charges, man. Top shelf charges. Yo, this milk is on. This milk is gone, son. Yo, all the milk is gone. This mug just like drunk. Man, you might want to swish it around. Might want to swish it.
No, because it's in the back.
Oh, this mug drunk a whole cup of milk. That's like 20 ounces.
Because it's not in here. It's in the throat.
But see now, because all that stuff is just kind of circulating. It's percolating, man. It's percolating all throughout your body, man.
What the?
Well, look at the upside. Look at the upside.
I need a brand new mouth.
Look at the upside. You will most likely be completely cleaned out by tomorrow morning. Oh, you're going for the bread next. You'll be completely cleaned out. You'll be gushers in the morning. You might be on the toilet in the morning. You might be gushers. You might be straight gushing. You know how it looks when they like release a storm drain? That's probably what you're gonna be doing in the morning. Yeah, man. We going on 6 minutes, bro. Going on 6 minutes. That's what the clock is at right now.
I'll let you know when it starts to subside.
So it's not subsided yet, y'all. It's been like 6 minutes.
Dude, It started to right now. It started to come down.
All right, started to come down. So 6 minutes. So it took 6 minutes.
It's at its peak, but it's on the way down. I don't even know what I was about to say. I was about to say something.
Yeah, because it's probably your brain's on fire too. You're probably losing brain cells, man.
I will say that it didn't cause me to sweat too much. Yeah, it didn't.
Yeah, no,
I don't feel hot. I don't feel hot. We are not having fun. We are not having any fun. We, no fun, zero fun. The bread is the best. The bread is the best. It's
maybe you dip it in. Maybe you dip it in the milk.
Nah,
dip it.
I'm good. I'm good. I will tell you this, okay? This is a true story. For the first minute, I thought I was dying. I thought I was dying for the first minute. You see, I couldn't talk, right?
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't swallow either.
Ooh.
I could not swallow. That's why I kept like doing like this, because I thought I was actually gonna throw up. I could not swallow. I thought I was dying. Now I could breathe, so that's why I knew I was okay. I was like, okay, well I can still breathe. Okay, that's working good, but I can't swallow. Okay, let me just breathe. Let me just breathe. Let me just breathe. But I did think I was gonna make a trip to the emergency room, and you were gonna have to call the police and tell them Fuego Box did it.
File a report.
File a report because Fuego Box should be charged with attempted murder.
But hey, man, look at the bright side, man.
It's significantly coming down now.
This has most likely made you a stronger person.
A stronger person.
Yes.
Is you crazy?
Yes, it's made you a stronger person.
If anything, I have weakened my mouth for life. My insides are burnt and scorched for life. You're very wise to not have done this.
So, would you say you have won this bout? Will you say you won this bout? Are you the undisputed chocolate champion of the world?
I got bitch slapped on my ass, all right?
Okay. But you got back up, though.
Yeah. The only way I won this is that I'm still breathing. I believe that. I'm still breathing. So I believe that, you know, I can still go forward in life. How many minutes are we at?
I started a little late. It's about 15 seconds, so we about at 9 minutes and 30 seconds.
9 minutes right now. It's significantly down now. It's just like so if I ate some spicy wings, this would be the feeling. This would be the feeling right now. If I ate
right
now.
now.
This feeling right here is like, ooh, I had something spicy, but it was good. I don't even know what this tasted like. It tasted like fire. I've seen some videos where they're like, oh, it's actually a good, like, nice soft chocolate. What I tasted was fire. I tasted fire. Excuse me.
At least your sinuses are clear. Your sinuses are
I
clear.
would damn sure hope so.
Yeah, all of them. All your sinuses are clear.
I would hope so. Yeah. I would hope so.
And most likely your intestines are going to be clear too.
Whew. Oh my. Yo, Fuego Box was not kidding. They were not kidding. I don't even remember. You said this is about we're about 10 minutes now?
10 minutes and 40 seconds.
I probably don't remember like about 7 of those minutes.
You probably blacked out.
I don't think I remember 7 of those minutes.
You probably blacked out, man.
How did we get to 10 minutes?
Yo, we got to be on 11 minutes, man.
For the first minute, I thought I was going to die. Literally, die. Wow. So, boys and girls, don't try this at home.
Well, they can try it somewhere else. Don't try it. Don't just at home.
Don't try it anywhere. I can't imagine any human would be okay with this. I've seen some people, they definitely handled it better than I did. I saw some that did not handle it even as good as I did, which that's not good. That's not even good. But there's some people that really do try like a lot of spicy stuff. That's just their life. And they were able to take it and not like react like I did. Wow. 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 I don't think I want anything else for the rest of the night. I think I'm done eating for at least about, a week or so.
Whole cup of milk, an entire cup of milk, and 4 slices of bread. And he probably would down more if he had more.
If I had more bread.
If he had more bread, he probably
I was like, you know what, man? Shouts out to the wife. Shouts out to the wife, because I was like, I probably only need 2 pieces of bread. Shouts out to the wife, man. Shouts out to the wife.
She knows you better than you do.
She was like, I'm gonna give you 4. I was like, all right, I think I only need 2 though. I only need 2, but okay, give me 4, whatever. And you see, you was talking about the full cup of milk, right? Woo, yeah, that's gone.
That's straight gone. You probably don't even remember drinking all that. Just went down.
My tongue feels like it's not there. Whew. All right. I'm gonna go lay down and reflect. I'm gonna reflect on what just happened here.
You're gonna reflect and release.
Ooh. I wonder how that replay went. I wonder how the replay is going. I wonder what it looked like. I don't know. I was gone. I was totally gone. Wonder how that looked. Woo! At least I can say that some funds are going towards prostate.
Prostate, yeah.
You know what I should have done was write a check.
Oh, you mean just go ahead and just send the money straight to
Next
him?
time, I'm going to write a check, and I'm going to send some money to prostate research. Definitely. Not going to do this. Not going to do this. This was this was dumb. This was dumb. This was real stupid. You know what? I think my daughter's watching too. And earlier I was telling her about making smart decisions in life. It was just earlier today. I was like, you don't want to make stupid decisions in life. You don't want to act dumb. You don't want to do that. Daddy did not follow his own advice. Daddy made a very, very stupid decision. And I'm going to learn. I'm going to learn from that stupid decision.
Oh man, this Coco Loco, causes grown men to start reflecting on their life, man.
Reflecting, dog.
Reflecting on their life.
Reflecting. Bringing up the kids.
Just saying.
Oh my gosh. Leonessa, you don't want to do that. Yeah, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. Whatever videos you have seen of people trying it, they are being completely 100% real. This, whoo, feeling a little hot now. Now I'm feeling a little hot. Feeling a little hot. Feeling a little hot. Feeling a little hot. All right. Oh, hopefully I will be back on Tuesday. Hopefully.
You'll be back, refreshed, detoxified,
yes,
cleaned out, flushed out.
Yes.
You might maybe experience something that resembles a colonic, maybe. I don't know.
The most fortunate thing about this, the thing I'm glad about the most is that I've regained the ability to swallow. Could not swallow for a minute. I don't know what it did to the throat. I don't know if it closed it or it opened it too far or it
probably
the chocolate wrapped around it or something.
It was inflamed.
It was inflamed?
Yeah, it was inflamed.
Woo! Oh my. All right. Did I just touch my eye? Hopefully that's not going to start burning. All right. Yeah. All right. So we're going to sign off. Hopefully I'll be back on Tuesday. Shout out to all of our callers tonight, Tony, Phil, and Christina. Not Christine, Christina. Thank you for calling in. And we do have some contributors in the super chat as well we want to highlight. Let's see. That is Gaillard, very familiar name, Jose Garcia and Rock Lee, which I think Rock Lee is Phil. So appreciate you. Appreciate everybody in the chat section. Did I say chat? I don't know what I said.
Wait, we got a last second shot clock buzzer beater contributor in the super chat, and that is Calvin Darden. Again, appreciate you coming in at the last moment. That seemed like a kind of a sympathy donation. It seemed like because this is get well.
I might need some money for the emergency room.
I was about
visit.
to say, or some.
I might need some money for that visit.
Or some intestinal soothers.
Yeah. Look, of course I was joking about Fago Spice about attempted murder. Anyway, but yeah, they do have a lot of spice options.
Don't want to get sued or nothing like that.
Yeah, true.
Don't want to get sued.
But anyway, they got a lot of different spice options. I'm sure not all of them. I'm sure none of them actually are that spicy. So yeah, check them out if you get a chance. But the Choco challenge. Nah, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't be me. Don't be me. You don't want to be me. You don't want to do that. I just wasted 10 minutes of my life. Or 10 minutes in pure hell.
I was about to say, you took a trip to hell, man.
Yeah. It was about 9 minutes where it started to come down. It was about 9 minutes. Something like that.
9 minutes.
About 9 minutes. That's a long time. That's a long time, man. Whew. All right. Shout out to all of our patrons on patreon.com as well. Thank you for thank you for where am I at?
LTMB.
Yes.
This is Thursday show.
Yeah.
LTMB.
Patreon.
Yeah, we were on Patreon. giving some credit to our patrons. And this is Thursday.
See, I can joke now because I don't really feel it, but this is
the 21st. Donald Trump is our president. Okay.
Still?
Yes.
Still.
Yeah, Donald Trump is our president.
Damn, I thought I went way. I thought I went way past that. All right. Okay.
You had an inception moment, most likely.
Oh my, yo, that is no joke. I clearly, you know how you underestimate your opponent?
You underestimated the reach of the chocolate. You underestimated the reach.
I didn't know that it would completely engulf my throat and I would not be able to swallow. Had I known that, I would have wrote the check. But anyway, thank you to all of our patrons on Patreon. Thank you very much. Thank you for everybody that's watching. We'll hopefully be back. On Tuesday.
I think we'll be okay, man. I think we'll be okay. No, I don't think there's going to be any residual effects, man.
So after tonight, you think I'll probably be good? After tonight, I'll probably be good. All right. I'll let you know. Though. But anyway, everybody peace out, man. Let the madness begin. I hope you have a good weekend, and we'll see you next week on Tuesday, all right?
you.